Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Welcome to the AstroPub. Welcome to the captain's, not the captain's table, the office hours. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. How y'all doing? Camera. Oh, yeah, because the power went out. So, my power situation is now dealt with. Hoorah. Hooray. It should be fine. Was never that much of an issue in the first place. There you go. No, it wasn't an old breaker. It's just my power load was too much. So they basically installed a brand new circuit, brand new breaker. So just the power plugs run on one breaker, and the rest of the room runs on another breaker. Supposedly to CIG this weekend equals Monday. Tell us everything we don't know about the legal system of Star Citizen. I mean, the advocacy is both the Justice Department and the judicial branch. Oh, no, we're not getting a tech preview this week. We're going to get it next week at the earliest. I mean, laws are part of lore. I was hoping it was a Vulcan, but I'll settle for engineering. We already had a Vulcan. Oh, but the Nix system. Oh, you don't know a lot about the Nix system, honestly. Like, I could go into very deep depth about the lore of the Nix system. But I'm going to save that for an Astro Historian channel video. What I will tell you is that it is one of the most important systems to understand the history of humanity in the last 500 years. My friend recently started playing. He's upset that in-game ships cost too much. I tried to explain to him that our characters are special and that most people never leave their home planet because ships are so expensive. I mean, it's part of it.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Agent FBA just resubscribed for 41 months.
Thank you so much, Agent FBA, for that 41 months, 6 months in advance. You were very important, however, very impressed, Mr. Vanity Pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat. You rock. Shots and cheers. One of the best of the best of the best, sir. MIB reference. Love it. No, so the important thing to note is that in the Star Citizen universe, we are not special. We're just upper middle class. Not all of the Star Citizen universe, but a lot of the Star Citizen universe is poor as shit. Wait, what's the other reason things are so expensive? Balance, game balance. They want players to be able to afford gear and upgrades So they need to make sure that the gear is relatively cheap in comparison to the upgrades and the other stuff and the ships and such. So they have to make it affordable, and as a result, they have to kind of give a scale that feels right for the player economy. A ship should be a lot of work and effort to get to, whereas upgrading your ship should feel easier. I'm having no drop frames, and my broadest, like my kbps has been steady. So if you're having quality issues, it's probably on your end. Hey, Big Brick, doing good. Space inflation, yeah, basically. The YouTube's usually better in quality. How was work? It was work. How you doing, Del? Game economy, aka Wicklow's economy. Yep. Evening. Hope the electrical is working out well. Yes. Basically, I said this at the very beginning, but 3 of the outlets are now on their own circuit, and 1 of them isn't, because they couldn't get that one to work with the rest of them. I was just, that's perfect. I will just connect the 1 outlet to 1 PC, and everything else, including my like lighting and gear, to another and my other PC to another circuit, so that I even the load. That was the issue. I'm procrastinating writing PhD applications because I'm a crazy person. That sounds insane. Yeah, because the issue was never that it wasn't consistent enough for it to be a problem, but it was happening enough that it was a pattern where it would happen at specific times of the day, almost always during the day, and almost always with very intensive video games when I'm running like lots of different things. So the issue wasn't a day-to-day use issue, it was peak issues were causing the breaker trip. So just pulling a couple of those electrical devices off of that circuit onto another circuit should be an issue, because it was only this circuit. It was still $1,000, but you know, better to do that now than to worry about it later when I have to add more load to the whole thing. Because I'm sure eventually I'll have to add more load somewhere. Good to know lore stealing ships never peak the load. All right. So, I have complained frequently that CIG is bad at highlighting content creators, especially on YouTube. I think it is their weakest spot in terms of community management and in terms of marketing. So, outside of some special YouTubers whom they always give credit for because they're the people who are popular or people have pointed them out. So I'm going to start a new, inspired by another content creator, I'm going to start what I'm going to call, the section I'm going to call the tractor beam, where we're going to help tractor beam smaller creators that I stumble into your perception. So these are going to just be one-off videos that I found that I thought were interesting that you should watch, and then also go subscribe to them and watch all of the other videos. This isn't going to be a replacement to their videos. This is simply a way of saying there are plenty of content creators out there other than the ones you're constantly being fed, and you should go watch them, because I know most of you listen to me at work. Even after I've done streaming, you watch this after I'm done while you're going to work and such. So these are content creators you can add to your repertoire of listening to. All right. Yeah, Spooner's coming on a little bit later, but I'm not biased, but I 100% agree. It's not even that like X. It's not even like that. It was a problem with the infrunners. You know, there's a ton of content creators. For instance, Spooner is going to be on the captain's table. Oh yeah, let's talk about this beforehand. 24-hour captain's table is coming. That 24-hour captain's table is going to happen on Saturday. Right now, as it stands, because I've still been getting more people coming in. I have it's Jojo, who is a mad lad who's going to be with X at the very end of the stream. So he gets to see my first real like interaction with him in a semi-professional sense is me being half drunk. So right now, this is so far. This is a running total. It's not a complete total one. Not all of them yet. It starts at 7 a.m. Eastern, which is 4 a.m. Pacific, with the first guest that I know of is Crucian. Then at 9 a.m., because these are each 3-hour slots, we have Cepheus, Citizen Spooner, and 10 Pound 42. And then on Saturday, and then on at 3 hours later, it was 9 p.m. So 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Eastern. At 1 p.m. Eastern, we've got Atira Kel and Night Cobb. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern, we have what's that? Star Jump Grim and Axis 0096. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have Serious Fun. And then at 10 p.m. Eastern, we have Papa Juggernaut. And then at 1 a.m. Eastern, we have Fast Cart. And lastly, the last round so far, we have at 4 a.m. So 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. It's Execute and it's JoJo. Thanks, JoJo. Thank you for agreeing to come on, by the way. And I've reached out to Mud Dog of the Texas Space Navy, who said he's definitely wants to come, but he hasn't told me exactly when. Wookie, who is also interested. Oh, he's going to be on the 7 p.m. Eastern. Actually, I have to add that one. Serious Fun. Let me do that. X, I'll send you your the slot that I have you in the normal like auto translate thing. I asked Pete. Pete hasn't gotten back to me. How did Subathon go to the end? On Monday? Like the old Subathon, or are we talking about the one we did? It did great. We met our goal. I think we fully met the goal. So for a short one, it's not bad. I actually reached out to Evenlease Token. I reached out. So the people I reached out to, which I haven't heard back from, are Nonstop Bops, who said he wants to go, but at a certain point. Radar Ranger, who isn't going to be able to make it, but maybe we'll see. Morphologist, who's not going to be available because he's not at home. Solus, Evenlease, Captain Foxy Loxy, SMB, the 5-star, Pete, Ferrister, who isn't going to be able to do it, Zero State, and Loken, and Griffin Gaming RPG. Most of those people either haven't gotten back to me, but some of them have not been able to do so. Tell them it's for charity. Like, I know he doesn't want to come on because he wants to hear other people, but tell him this is for charity. So I'd love to have him on as a, you know, as a boost for the kiddos. And if you're watching Pete, it's for the kids. I also reached out to Space Tomat, but Tomat isn't available. He'll probably be able to come a little bit later, though. Good options there. I'll toss nods to Fried Chicken and Dawn Stealer. Hondo, if you have my Discord, send me their like information and I'll send them out there. So for those of you who don't know, if you've never done this, we've been doing this for 5 years now, where we run a 24-hour live stream for charity, where we do Captain's Table for 24 hours. And every couple of hours, I rotate out for new guests, but I stay in the hot seat for 24 hours. So it's not like, new guest. No, my ass is in here for 24 hours. In the future, if I can swing it, my goal is to be able to do this like an uncapped subathon, but for charity, where we start at 24 hours and then we rotate out hosts. Where somebody else can be a host while I go sleep for at least 4 hours and come back. No, not starting now, starting on Saturday. That's going to happen on Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, Tomat isn't going to be able to make it, but you know, Dawn Stealer, send him his details. Send me the details. Does commodity trading work now? I saw a patch went through yesterday. I haven't checked. Yeah, he's busy this weekend. Am I downing pints while staying? No. So I've done this enough times to know that the secret to doing 24-hour live streams is to start them very early in the morning. So you end early in the morning. Get a lot of sleep beforehand. Drink lots of water. Eat real food while you're streaming. Don't eat junk food. And don't start chugging caffeine or start using caffeine stimulants and so forth until later in the stream. Lastly, get up and move. It's not as important early on, but usually every 4 to 4 hours, 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours early on, but 3 to 4 hours later, get up and move around for like 10, 15 minutes. So that way you're not just stuck in the chair. It's a straight edge pub. I mean, other people can drink, but the bartender usually doesn't drink. The Uncapped would be fun to collab with others like Answer the Call or Soul Citizens. I can reach out to Mike and those folks for it. But before we get into the juicy stuff, and I make a capsule, put in my pitch for Dusty Star. If you have content creators that you want to come onto the 24 Hours show, let me know, and I'll definitely have that. Also, if you have a content creator you want me to check out for this specific segment that I'm doing now, which I'll start doing on office hours, that I'm calling again the Tractor Beam, where we're gonna uplift other content creators because we're all in this fucking thing together, so that you can have more access to them, let me know. I don't think we're getting Vulcan updates until next year. Ghost is not a logistics guy, but somehow he became Lore's quartermaster. All right. So let's watch this video. So this video, as I stumble upon, it is by a guy named Percival, Percival. He has 1,500 subscribers. This video, perfect title, by the way, and he's got a lot of views for this one. This happened a day ago. It's "Give me 8 minutes to change your mind about Star Citizen." So this is, I think, a guy who likes Star Citizen. And I saw the title and I was like, and I saw the thumbnail. I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. He is pretty good at this YouTube game. Let's hear him out and see what he wants to say. Because YouTube is starting to promote that. So I'm going to put his YouTube channel in chat. Okay, so he doesn't just do Star Citizen content. He did one on Battlefield. He did the Your humble host, space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. Hold up. Look on.
You can take away my spaceship.
Doing the Lord's work, Paul. Uplift the community like a mouse.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Loken Plays just resubscribed for 71 months. Ho.
Hi, how you doing, Loken? You're a very important pupper, very impressive, Mr. 70 fucking 1 months. God damn, it's been a long time.
You can take away my
I sent you a message on YouTube or on Discord, by the way.
Oh, God. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Kapam just resubscribed for 60 months. Ready to shift your perspective from the ordinary to the extraordinary? Ready to reset your
Did you send me a message
expectations
back?
to the everyday to the highest heights? From breathtaking views, incredible dining, Crusader is calling. Stay at the luxurious accommodations, tour Empire-class shipyards and bask in a sunset that is truly unforgettable. With shuttles arriving daily, what are you waiting for? Come, visit Horizon, the city in the clouds.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
CMDR_ShadowStull just resubscribed for 22 months. Something visit Horizon, the trash heap in the clouds. Belches and tosses another cruise off the balcony.
Thank you so much for that. 22 months of support there. You're very important, Papa. Very impressive, Mr. You rock. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat. Shots and cheers. And also thank you for that 12 month. Your last month of no more will QPen. God, I say that someone's gonna do it again, aren't they? No more will QPen torture me with his gift subscription for 12 months. I don't know if narrative is the person you want to talk to if you want to be able to fight with the frontier fighters. I think that's game design, honestly. Game design needs a bad guy in every system, which personally I'm against. You should always be able to join the bad guy faction in every system. But you should also be actively fucked over by them so players know, oh, I'm fucked over by these people. I shouldn't work for them. Yes, Luna. So a couple of things I'll explain right here. 24-hour Captain's Table. It's happening. It's happening next week. or next week, on Saturday. Starts at, for you, 4 a.m. Luna, but for everybody else, it's 7 a.m. Eastern. But only for you is at 4. Everyone else is later. Let me disable this real quick.
Them biddies.
Maybe not FKED over by them, but definitely by the powers that be.
Hold on. There you go, Logan. I just sent it to you. Sorry, I'm talking with people. People are finally getting back to me on stuff. All right. So, 24-hour Captain's Table. It's a charity stream for Gamers Outreach. That's starting on Saturday. I'm also starting a new section of the office hours that I'm calling the Tractor Beam, where I'm pulling up smaller creators up who talk about Star Citizen, either Star Citizen creators, in this case, a gaming content creator who is also doing Star Citizen. So here you go. We're going to watch this video. The idea behind this is that CIG does really bad job of highlighting and uplifting smaller creators who don't actively participate in the meta of CIG promotional. And by that I mean like the people who are at the top of the Twitch stream categories, or people who did something really big that got like a really big viral hit through stuff. Like, I don't know if CIG really highlighted Fatbird, for instance, who's a fantastic content creator who does Star Citizen. And it took a long time before Wookiee was recognized by both CIG and the rest of the community. Yes, lots of distractions for you. Wicklow the thief. I'm joining Xeno Threat. The dude who did the Spirit Breaker mission, right? Yeah. I've known him for about a year now. When he did, I first saw his Welcome to Pyro video, which is great. Yeah, Hubwire is another great one. I love Zark. I've had Zark on Captain's Table before. All right, so let's watch 8 minutes to change your mind about Star Citizen from Percival. This is the Tractor Beam.
8 minutes. That's enough time to reply to a few emails or scroll through YouTube looking for something worth watching. So here's the deal. Give me those same 8 minutes, and I'm going to show you why Star Citizen isn't the game you think it is. This isn't a pitch or a defense by any means. It's just the truth from someone who tried it expecting a complete mess and found something else entirely.
Here's your good answer, Rusty.
If you're watching this, you're probably one of two people. You're either the skeptic, the one who's seen the trailers, the memes, the drama, and decided Star Citizen is nothing more than an expensive joke, a decade of broken promises and digital NFTs. Or you're the believer, the one who owns numerous ships, logs in every patch, and still defends this game because you've seen the potential underneath the mess. Either way, here we are. And let's be real, gaming doesn't feel like it used to. Something's changed. Games still look good, they sound great, the worlds are massive, but they don't feel the same as when we were younger. That spark you used to feel, it's barely there, and I never expected Star Citizen of all games to be the one to bring that feeling back. Because on the surface, it's a complete mess, filled with bugs, microtransactions, and a steep learning curve, but beneath all of that, I found something I haven't felt in years. Not polish, not perfection by any means, but unpredictability, discovery, real moments with real people in a world that actually feels alive. It's not like other games, and that's exactly the point. Because like it or not, Star Citizen made me feel something I haven't felt in a long time. First, let's talk about the reputation. Star Citizen isn't just a game, it's a meme at this point. A decade in development, an $800 million money pit, and a tech demo where some ships cost more than your car. For years, I didn't even consider touching it. Every time I saw gameplay, it looked clunky and boring. Every Reddit thread, people were arguing, melting down, accusing each other of being brainwashed cult members. But here's the thing, if it's such a disaster, then why are people still coming back to it? Why do some gamers put in hundreds of hours, run events, roleplay as space cops, and buy ships that cost way too much? Ultimately, that's what got me curious. Not the hype, not the trailers, but the loyalty, the mystery of how a game with this much baggage still has a passionate player base. So this year I made a promise to myself, try new stuff, step out of my comfort zone. And against all logic, I downloaded Star Citizen. I went in with incredibly low expectations. All I knew about Star Citizen was that it was a huge space sim for people with more money than sense. Ships that cost $1,000, a tutorial that barely works, a dev team that's been building it longer than most people's relationships. So when I finally did install it, I was already ready to refund. Now I spent $45. That's it. No fancy upgrade packs, just the starter bundle. And right from the start, the tutorial.
This man is like hitting all of the points. But he's not a Star Citizen content creator, so people may actually listen to him.
Completely bugged out. My character got stuck, couldn't even figure out how to leave the planet. Every menu felt like it needed a PhD to understand, and I was about to reset everything when I heard some voices. Actual players just talking nearby. So I walked up, said something like, "Hey, does this game ever work?" And instead of ignoring me, they laughed. Then they helped. They explained the mechanics, they told me what to avoid, warned me about the bugs and the weird server stuff. And then they just invited me to tag along. They gave me armor, a weapon, 1,000,000 credits like it was no big deal.
This footage is old, so I'm assuming this guy is either played it earlier or he may have done it like maybe early last year, like later last year. Let's see.
And we grouped up, loaded in, and before I knew it, I was standing in the hangar of this massive ship, the Hammerhead, loading up for an adventure. We flew into space, warped to another system, and ran into an enemy crew. It turned into a full-on space battle, lasers flying, shields down, turrets firing. I was sprinting through corridors trying to find my place, and I didn't even know what half the buttons did, but I was just trying not to get in the way. And it felt like Star Wars, Halo, and Mass Effect all smashed into one ridiculous unscripted moment. And I realized I wasn't just playing a game. I was inside something bigger, an experience that felt unpredictable, personal, and weirdly surreal. And yeah, it was still broken, still laggy, still odd, but in that moment, I didn't care because it finally felt like I was playing a game again. Most games these days don't let you be surprised. They're built around these systems, schedules, grinds, metas, You're always chasing the next tier, the next unlock, the next dopamine drip. But Star Citizen doesn't care about any of that. It barely explains anything. It doesn't beg you to log in every day. It just drops you into a universe. Broken, buggy, massive, and says, figure it out. And that's what makes it so special. It doesn't hold your hand by any means. It doesn't reward you for doing
He could have been pulled this footage off of other videos, but
the right thing. It rewards curiosity, experimentation, messing around and getting lost with strangers who become friends by accident.
This is definitely old footage just because there's no way, if he just started playing Star Citizen this year, there's no way.
Experimentation, messing around and getting lost with
he is bed to the Siege of Orson. Well, he said he only started playing the game this year.
Strangers who become friends by accident. In most games, you're the main character. In Star Citizen, you're just there, part of a living, breathing galaxy. People are mining, hauling, dogfighting, crashing into planets, role-playing, all while you're doing your own thing. One minute you're struggling to find your ship, and the next you're jumping across star systems with a crew you met 5 minutes ago, chasing a distress message that might be a trap or someone who genuinely needs the help. And that level of unpredictability, it's rare now. And the best part, none of it is forced. It just happens. You might go hours without anything exciting, but then something just clicks. The mission goes sideways, you meet someone weird, a cargo run turns into a rescue op. And in that unpredictability, the game feels so alive. It's not about power fantasy, it's about presence. It makes you feel like this small piece of a bigger world, not because the devs told you to, but because the world just exists. Star Citizen gave me something I didn't know I was missing. Space to breathe, to explore, to exist. Now that was a lot of positives, but let's not sugarcoat it. This game is a big mess. The bugs are real, elevators glitch, characters T-pose, sometimes your ship just tweaks out. No reason, no warning, just boom, start over. Menus are confusing, controls are overwhelming, and half the time you're not even sure if it's a bug or just how the game works. And don't even get me started on the development cycle. It's been in alpha for over a decade. There's no clear release date, and the roadmap feels like a bingo card. Half the features you hear about are still in planning and might stay there until we're all retired. You're not crazy at all if you look at Star Citizen and think this is insane, because it is. But here's the twist. Even with all that nonsense, people still play it, and not out of obligation or sunken cost. They play it because sometimes underneath all that mess, they find something worth showing up for. And I think that's kind of the point. It's not a perfect game, it's not even a finished game, but it's the only one of the games where it actually feels like anything can happen. And in today's meta-obsessed gaming world, that's rare. Listen, Star Citizen isn't going to click for everyone. If you want something polished, consistent, or even finished, this probably isn't going to be your game, and that's totally okay. But if you're burnt out on that grind, if you're tired of doing what you're supposed to do in games, if you miss just screwing around and getting lost, then yeah, this game might just surprise you. Because it surprised me, and it reminded me of what games used to feel like before the metas, before the checklists, before everything had to be optimized and monetized and ranked.
Ironically, because it was designed in 2012. It was designed at the peak of the immersion and emergent gameplay trend that was happening. So now that it's finally coming out, a lot of those same core ideals are still there. Even though gaming has moved on, it's sort of like a retro throwback to the early 2010s.
It brought back that feeling when I was a kid of just playing, of not knowing what's going to happen next, of laughing with strangers who accidentally become your crew for the night, and all of that came from a game that barely functions, which is understandably wild. So that's why I'm not here to convince you it's amazing. I'm just saying it's different, and sometimes different is exactly what you need. So no, I'm not saying everyone should rush to play this game, but maybe give it a shot. Maybe stop waiting for it to be ready. Because if you go in with low expectation, some patience, and a mindset to explore, you might just find something worth your time. So yes, Star Citizen is kind of a mess, but it's one of the only games that made me feel like a true gamer again. Not a grinder, not a min-maxer, just someone having fun. If you've been feeling burnt out, maybe this is your sign to try something weird, something different.
I like it. Very good. So hopefully, I forgot who had asked this earlier about it. Rusty. Hopefully that gives you some information on this. On the status. This, up to this patch, it was actually been probably the best Star Citizen has ever been in the sense of like stability and playability. Again, put this out there. Go watch his other stuff. He's doing other things other than Star Citizen. Go send him some love. But yeah, this patch broke a lot of stuff. I think it's because they were setting up a bunch of stuff for Nyx for the next patch in this patch. Oh yeah, by the way, Nyx is coming out next patch. That's why it's Nyx Evo. That's good. Go send him some love. Do, 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 do. This one be like, don't try to get me to start on that. The rules are made up and the points don't matter. Nyx won. Yeah, I do too. Percival from Whatever Player won. Oh, he's not a content creator of Star Citizen. Percival is just a content creator who tried Star Citizen, if that makes sense. Now I'm going to have to do a video that says Star Citizen only costs $45 to do my own Star Citizen pitch video. That'll just be the title. This game is only $45. Will change your life. Star Citizen will change your life, kind of thing. Because that's been my point forever. I can't wait to see Luke Stevens playing Star Citizen for the first time. Now, y'all hate him so much. All of you hate Luke Stevens so much, and I don't get it. He's playing. Yeah, so says the thing is that the Star Citizen community, at least mine and Tomatoes community, are convinced that Luke Stevens is some grifter who showed up yesterday to scam the fuck out of the Star Citizen player base, who just follows the negative release cycle and is only doing this so he can farm clicks, which is like, $45 and like 100 DLC or more. Listen, Boss Life, I know it's funny to say that, but it's not. It's actually not true. I have done 0 to hero. I'm not the first to have done 0 to hero, but I think I'm the oldest. The person who's done 0 to hero runs the longest, because I picked it up from a content creator who stopped doing Star Citizen content years ago. And so I've been doing content since then. I actually was doing 0 to hero runs before you could purchase ships in game. And I have to say, of all of my experiences playing Star Citizen, 0 to hero is the most consistent, engaging loop I have ever played in Star Citizen. And that is just starting out with a package that's just $45 and going from there. So the herder $1,000 ships, it's best starter ship is a Bengal herder, is like, yeah, I get it. It's a fun joke. But in reality, it only does cost $45 to enjoy the game. Now, Tomato, it wasn't just Tomato. Tomato and Morph really like to talk about that. Yeah, Luke Stevens. Also the most 0 to hero over multiple patches. I'm always doing 0 to hero. I sure do, yeah. Have you watched his videos? Yes, I actually do watch his videos almost all the time because I'm also like him, of a card-carrying member of the cult of Todd Howard. And I was following him a lot for his content updates. I found him for his Starfield content, and he started talking about Star Citizen. I was like, who the fuck is this man? How does he know so much about Star Citizen? Based on the thumbnails, dude is a grifter. Jesus Christ, y'all. Y'all are the worst enemy of the Star Citizen community. I swear to God. Let me teach the community, because especially for this is on both a YouTube and Twitch is unusual, but I've heard this. People have been complaining to me on other on like the Captain's Table podcast, where every so often someone will come in and say, if you do these clickbaity titles, it's going to lose people. This is the only video I clicked on, and I because you did this video, I'm never going to watch you again. It's like, okay, you want to know the secret, chat? Come here. Come here. It was created this year and has got almost 2,000 subscribers and consistently has at least that many views per episode, meaning every single person who subscribes is watching the video. In some cases, more people watch than subscribe. That's a pretty good metric. The reality is, you have to do the bait to get people to listen. Otherwise, nobody actually watches you. Luke is one of the reasons I came to Star Citizen. Luke is a gateway drug. He's a gateway content creator. He knows enough about Star Citizen to do content around it, but isn't so addicted to it that he will do nothing but content for it. Similar to Captain Burks. No, not Captain Burks. Burke Black. Yeah.
You can take away my spaceship.
See, I don't think he dumps on Star Citizen constantly. I really don't. I've seen him argue with his own chat, defending Star Citizen.
Ever take away my space game.
Pramster just resubscribed for 64 months. Pew pew. Give me nicks.
Thank you so much for that. 64 months of support. You're very important, Pupper. Very impressive. You're very pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat. Y'all, shots and cheers.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Sandy Sanderson just resubscribed for 35 months. It's not my fault.
Thank you for that 35 months of support there, Sandy. You're very important, Pupper. Very impressive. Mr. Any pedestrian. You rock. Shots and cheers in chat. Y'all, shots and cheers. It is your fault. I get it, Gator. I get it. YouTube encourages influencers to use clickbait. It's not YouTube. I mean, it is, but it's not just YouTube. It's advertising. All right. I'm not an advertising guy. I never was in that part of marketing. I'm not I'm not great at it. Otherwise, I'd be a much better, bigger YouTuber. Also, I'm lazy, so that's another thing. It's human psychology. And the thing that you always have to do, it's like the lost art of trailer making. You need to, for trailers, give you enough information to tell you what the story of a movie or television show or game is going to be without spoiling the twists of that movie, television show, or game. So it gets you hooked in and interested, but not overselling it. And that's what a clickbait title is. Headlines have been doing this since the invention of the written word. Since the invention of newspapers, headlines have been doing this very same thing. It's just more common now because, you might see it in the newspaper and be like, yellow journalism. Now they're just trying to sell newspapers, You can just sort of shoo it away as sort of like corporate influence, not artistic, not my version of art. Certainly not. And this is the same problem where artists, okay, this is probably my marketer showing, my ruthless capitalist showing, where I'm like, where I think artists often hold themselves up to this pedestal of, well, like, I'm doing this because I love art, and then get like mad when they can't eat or drink anything. It's like, but I'm going to do my art and I'm not going to compromise. And it's like, cool. That means nobody cares. you gotta have to be comfortable with doing a niche thing that only a few people like. But even then, you could be the best artist in the world. If you don't know how to tell people or show people that you are, no one will know who the fuck you are. It's the problem with writers. Like, most big novels that have been written in the last 30 years have done well because the authors themselves are good at marketing them, at showing them off, or they had good advice or good like agents who could do that for them. The reality is, if you do good art, if you do good entertainment, you have to be able to tell people you do entertainment. And the only way to do that is to get their attention. How do you get their attention? Through clickbait. Anything that is clickbait. Charles Dickens, to be honest, his writing leaves something to be desired. He kept getting published. I agree with Mr. Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, when he said if he could, he would dig up the bones of Jane Austen and beat her skull in with her own femur. I hate Jane Austen, but goddamn, do people love her and think she's the best writer ever? And it's because she managed to capture an emotion of the time that is still very prevalent. I don't think she's a good writer, but people love her for her style. And the only reason why people know about her is because of the novelty of like a woman of her time writing what she was writing. There weren't a lot of women authors at the time, despite their, in my opinion, being much better ones. Mary Shelley, who preceded her and were even her contemporaries, like the Bronte sisters. But still, Pride and Prejudice is a lot better known than Jane Eyre. Even it's gotten a recent revival, but Wuthering Heights was still much less revered than Pride and Prejudice or any of those other Austen ones. Those are good examples, So if your first interaction with me is to manipulate me, I kind of don't like that. Well, that's the difference. There's a difference between good advertising and good and manipulation. Clickbait has a negative connotation because clickbait is you're lying to me, because that's what it used to be. But in reality, clickbait is more designed to catch your attention and bring you in. Like if I were to do more like Star Citizen, like news videos rather than lore videos, I would say something like the most important feature you haven't heard of. And it would be on scanning. Why scanning is important, how it touches everything, how it's so important in the long term, in the short term, in the medium term, and breaking down all of scanning. But I wouldn't say scanning, or if I did say scanning, it would simply be in the thumbnail, not the title. As someone used to famously say, there's good bait and bad bait. Good bait is what you want me to do. You want me to bait you because you don't know I exist or the topic that I'm talking about exists until I get you to pay attention. Oh yeah, beta's real good. Did we do some news on engineering? Yes, we'll get that here in a moment. I like Luke, but he only says stuff from Salty Mike. It does come off as a negative. I think he gets a lot of his diegetic news from Mike. But to say that because he watches Salty Mike, he doesn't follow the channel or doesn't follow Star Citizen, like there's so many people who watch Mike. Mike is one of the biggest content creators in Star Citizen. That's like saying, oh, well, I don't like this content creator because he clearly only watches Board Gamer. It's like, what? All right, what is this about ships? Let me look at that. Someone's saying something. Paul, do you have a UPS for your systems? No, but I'm planning on getting one. I need to get at least one, if not two, just because we have enough power outages at certain times of year that I would like to have it hooked up to at least my computer so I can shut it down if the power goes out, and then also to hook up to my my routers. Because it's often not the internet that goes out. It's often the just the power for whatever reason. I used to have an UPS, but like I just have to like invest some time and money. I thought we were talking about small creators. Why are you talking about a guy who gets ready? Oh no, because someone was mentioning Luke Stevens earlier. That's what we're talking about. Good. My argument was that I think a lot of people often look at clickbait and don't understand the concept. Like, here's an example.
All right.
This is Mike. All right. These are all, do not look at this. These are wrong. This is a plugin you can get that I have for YouTube that helps you kind of understand your stuff. You can see all of my wonderful subscriptions here. Ooh, Wikipedia's live. As you can see, these are my regularly watched shows. So if you look at Mike, he has, here we go again. Star Citizen's item recovery is going to hurt more than it helps. Right? This is great because it's like, oh, so we immediately go in there, something's bad's going to happen, and you know that it's about item recovery. This is bad, Mike. You can do better than this. He's just saying the same thing twice, which is bad. But then you have, we're going to Nyx. And using this thumbnail and Salty Mike reacts to Star Citizen 4.0 for roundup updates, we're going to Nyx, right? Instancing in Star Citizen. Star Citizen gets his finances audited. Oh, that guy. Yeah, I know the guy who does those sorts of things.
All right.
Oh.
We got
Shipping Mike top. See, like, I don't know why people were saying Mike is negative. Your Monty kill. I love these. This is stupid. So 2 positives, 1 negatives. Crafting tier 0. That's sort of medium. This may be a little negative. Incident Star Citizen. Star Citizen's medium, positive, negative, negative. So like most of these for you for the homepage are like, let's see, positive, negative, negative, positive, neutral, neutral, positive, or neutral, neutral, confusing, positive, possibly positive, 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 neutral, positive, neutral, neutral, neutral. Like, this is all from the last month. Yet people are like, Mike is too bad. And it's like, I know a lot of people just look at his titles and go bad, but like, I have listened to it. Let's listen to Mike real quick.
all right, but we have a roundup. It literally just came out like 2 minutes ago, so let's check.
Oh, this is just more positive. Let's look at his negative one right here.
We have to talk about this. We have to give all the context, and we have to share everything about this because this is wild. How many upvotes?
Look at the view amounts. The view amounts are almost exactly the same. And I'm gonna say this, it's just gonna sound bad, but Mike's view counts are my average view counts for my lore videos. Like my lore videos after the first couple weeks are usually around 10,000. Usually they reach it after the first week's about 10K. Sometimes they're a little slower if I don't do a lot of uploads recently. So this is very normal for a Star Citizen like content. You rarely see Star Citizen content that is sort of news-based get more than 20K. Most of it are around 10 to 20K.
What does this have on Reddit? 74, which is like, it's only been posted 40 minutes ago. So this is a legitimate, ridiculous thing that's going on here, I think. So, in case you are not aware, there is a bit of an exploit, I would say, to some extent, but not for the way this post is posted. Let's go all the way back to Tier 0 item recovery. We'll leave this on the screen so you guys can read it. Tier 0 item recovery comes early this year, allowing nobody's gun and nobody's armor to be looted. There have been multiple times where you're able to tractor beam that gun or that armor off of a player after knocking them out, downing them, reviving them, like weird things. Everyone's found every way around it that they possibly can. The main one that still exists is specifically for guns, is if you melee take down a player, just like when you shoot an NPC, the gun goes flying up in the air. So the gun that I have on me will not be with me when I'm revived, and it is lootable by a player. To be honest, I have used this in the CZs because CZs with Tier 0 players just continuously come back, and there's never an end to a fight. But if we start looting their guns, you start looting their attachments, you start looting those things, then all of a sudden, after killing the same stream sniper 15 times, I was able to have him stop, let's say, for example, right? And that was an actual thing that happened to me. So, Tier 0 item recovery comes in to replace being able to loot people's subscriber gear until they have a better solution. They implied multiple times throughout the year that they are working on Tier 1. There was nothing about...
They really need to move CZs away from the regen locations? No, what they need to do is put CGs on loops, on timers. CZs need to have a timer based so that you can only go in at certain times. Or, and don't kill me, do not kill me, they should instance CZs, but only in that there is a time instance where every 30 minutes or so, they start up a new instance. That's Ghost Arena? Yes, but I'm talking about to enter Ghost Arena itself, you would have a timer. Kind of like how there are timers on the executive hangars. So you either go in when nobody else is going, or you go in when everybody else is going. Yeah, it's already got airlocks. I think if you did timers, it would make people slow down a little bit. Okay, so then you're gonna have 60-something people in an area that's not designed with that in mind. Then you just instance it. You instance it with a certain number of people. No, worst idea ever to instance it. I mean, it would prevent stupid people doing stupid things. Like, the reality is that instancing exists for many reasons, and this is one of them, for balance purposes. So you don't have people who are just yeeting themselves into a place for the lulz.
Got tier 1 at CitizenCon. There was nothing at tier 1 outside of them saying, we're working on it, guys, which is total fucking bullshit, and everybody knows it because
they talked about tier 1. Like, they said it in the same time they talked about tier 0, they talked about tier 1 and tier 2.
Because they are selling packages of armor and weapons constantly, and that feeds their funding model is to not change from tier 0.
Direct core, like this is legitimately me leaking information, okay, from inside CIG. They make zero fucking money on those packages. They make a fuck ton of money off of ships still. Those packages are an attempt for them to try to make it less. They don't. There's no reason for that. That's just conspiratory thinking on Mike's part.
So we think. All right.
Oh.
So again, this exploit is meleeing a player. An exploit that is being shared on the website on the issue council as an exploit is like saying, hey, this is a problem. They melee me and I lose my gun. Okay. Cool. That does sound like an exploit and a bug within the tier 0 system. Of course it does. You're not supposed to lose anything, right? But what is the intention going forward with the game? It's tier 1 and tier 2, which are everything is lootable, but there's ways to get it back. You know, we'll have the death system or whatever, dead man switch, whatever they want to call it, with tier 1. So all that stuff is.
If it's not bad in CZ at all, then instancing shouldn't be a problem, because it's already not happening. But it is happening for folks, especially in CZs. I've heard it many times. So an instancing isn't like you and your special snowflake group get in and nobody else can get in. Now, that's not what instancing is in this case. It just means that this instance, until it's full, can have 20 people in a CZ, right? 20 random people. And most people don't go into a CZ with 20 people. They go in with 4. And then once that fills up, it locks everybody else out, and then they open up a layer on a new instance on top of it where new people can come in and play. You know? All right, I'm not going to go through this too much. My point was that I don't think Mike is nearly as negative as people think. He does sprout some conspiratorial thinking, but I also think that I sprout conspiratorial thinking too. Like, I know I do. So it's not necessarily I just try to check myself a little bit more. It's just, Mike is from New Jersey. This is what he does. He's a Florida man living in New Jersey. That's just his personality. There's hardly any more than 5 people in one time in a CZ. Yeah, but there are people who will, I've had it before, where they like throw themselves at you constantly after you beat them because they want to beat you. So they just spawn in, run down, and throw themselves at you. And they'll do everything they can to kill you just because they get mad, that they get salty that you killed them while they were doing stuff. That's wrong, Paul. Instancing will be a blend of all of it. I mean, that's not what I'm Duty, I'm saying it is. What I'm saying is instancing can be done in a lot of different ways. And what I just said as a solution to CZs and camping and people throwing themselves at you for stupid reasons isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, you can also do it for PvE and PvP, and you can do no instancing at all and have people fighting each other in deep space. All of those things are possible. And I don't think CIG is planning on instancing the whole goddamn game like people think. The only critique I've been hearing is the inaccurate concern that it'll split up the player base. Not really. It'll split up the player because people think that they're going to instance the whole game like it's like a Destiny map or something. Yeah, both Roy and Ghost both saying the biggest problem is glitching in from the exterior, which might be solved with instancing. Instant CZs will just be like current CZs, except the server performance will be more stable since they're not in the same DGS as the rest of the station. That's it. Literally no other obvious difference. Yeah. Whatever they're doing clearly isn't working without instancing, so start instancing and see how it goes. It's working, it's just got issues, and I think instancing can solve some of those problems for especially their very big. Watch this, Mike. I love you. I'm not gonna watch it though. Checkmate is a particular one they can glitch into at the end. Yeah. In his positive shows, he uses lots of time on the negative. Mike has been on multiple captain's tables. I've been doing this for 9 years. Mike has been on multiple captain's tables. The problem, even back when he was called Twerk 17, the reason why he hasn't been on recently, and I've talked with Mike about this, because Mike and I have known each other for a long time, is that Mike uses his weekends to spend time with his family. He's got a wife, he's got family members. He uses some of his weekends, I think Saturdays specifically, for that. I'm sure he also uses it for like editing content and stuff like that, because I don't think he streams on Saturdays. But he does stream on Sunday, so he needs a little bit of break before he does his big thing. Yeah, he also streams super early. So that would be a little bit off, you know. He does stream. That's changed. Maybe it's back because it was back when he was doing he was working and streaming. But I know that he has said recently, as in like about a year ago, that he still uses this time on Saturdays to spend with his family. So if he's streaming on Saturdays, he's streaming early on Saturdays. He doesn't want to stream for like 4 to 6 hours on Saturday morning and then, you know, a couple hours later stream for 3 to 4 hours. We shouldn't demonize people for having a balanced perspective or for respectively holding CIG's feet to the fire. I think he's a valuable voice in the community, even with occasional misses. I think Mike and I disagree on some aspects of what Star Citizen or CIG is doing, but I think that's mostly because Mike doesn't always have all the information, or he's interpreting the information differently than I am. But usually Mike and I are like this close in terms of our opinions. Like I always like to say, most content creators who are negative simply have a different view of the game than you do. I find that most of the negative content creators, the people who focus more on the negative side of Star Citizen, who still are positive about the game, are, you know, at times, are typically people who play the game regularly. Because they're the people who are of the camp of, I want this game done and finished to play. We all are there, but these people specifically are more like, why isn't this the priority? Why is the priority anything else but making this game be done? And that's the only thing they want. Whereas there are people, a lot of the people who like cover content of Star Citizen and like what's going on are following the game as much as they're playing it. They're talking about the game. They're watching videos. They're playing with some friends. But like the journey is part of that goal. Sure, myself, that includes myself. I want more like better gameplay, and I want the game to be done. But there is a certain aspect of it of like enjoying the process and just reading the monthly reports, pulling that stuff out, you know? Mike plays the game as much plays the game as a game more than just about anyone. He's a bit crusted in the exterior as a result. Well, and that's a good example. Like, I play the game quite frequently, but people don't think I play. Like, I play for a couple hours on Saturday. I play for almost every Sunday, depending on other things. Like, I played for like 6 hours on Sundays last Sunday. Or no, it was about 4 hours, a little over 4 hours. I'm trying to play more on Mondays. And typically I play, every so often I'll play on Fridays. But I, get a good 8 to 10 hours of game a week. But I'm also not Zero or Mike, who play the game 4 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. Like, that would burn my brain out. Enjoying the custodian buff? They buffed my gun? Everything you love is dead? Is your family okay? I was fucking like, you scared the shit out of me now. Astro exposed? What? I must be the only person who doesn't want the game to ever really finish. I've enjoyed the whole process and meeting so many people along the way. It's been a blast for me to follow the project. You're not the only person. I want it to be done, but I want it to be done in the sense that I want the features to be in. Like, I couldn't give a fuck if the game is like super playable. I want the game to be the game that they want it to be. So I know what the kind of game they want it to be, finally, and then they can fix it later. Mike only says what he thinks will make his point. No, Mike says what he believes. Mike barely has a filter. Again, he is from New Jersey and lives in Florida. Can I get fellow New Jerseyans or New Yorkers, people who live near New Jersey can back me up on this culture? People in New Jersey will tell you what they think to your face. Good or bad. And it's already a sports shock, yeah. Paul, what are you going to say the best is the best? You can take the boy out of Jersey. Yeah. I think the most negative content creators and backers are the most passionate about the project. I don't disagree. I don't think they're the most passionate, but I think they have as much passion as any positive content creator. I love you and I love Mike. Yeah. I love Mike too. Speaking of features, but that surprise engineering EPTU drop that's coming too is certainly a choice to tell us how to play. All right, let's do that, because people will talk about engineering. That's the thing I wanted to talk about before we go into the monthly report. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, God. Oh, fuck. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. I just got confirmation that HC Vertigo is going to be on the the 3-hour slot for the 24-hour captain's table, the same 3-hour slot that Fast Cart's in, which is the midnight my time, 1 a.m. Eastern. Fuck, HC Vertigo and Fast Cart and the fucking midnight shift. Oh, I'm gonna fucking die. Oh. When I asked Mike to come on too, I have, but we literally were just talking about that knowledge. Was that Mike uses Saturdays for his family? So and I've asked him enough times that like out of respect, I don't ask him if he wants to come on. He's always welcome to. I'd always love to have him reach out, but I've asked him enough times that he's like, yeah, like I got family and stuff like that, and he does content creation for a living, so I'm not gonna like pressure him too much. You need to get HC and Darj on together again like the old days. Only I will make sure that the next poop episode will get we will have HC Vertigo and Darj on again. Okay? Where do you want your ashes spread? I just need more hygiene gameplay before I can guarantee that. For those of you who don't know, I don't think I was drunk. I do think I was just head light at that point. But there was an episode of the Captain's Table where it was Darj and Vertigo and myself. And for some reason, we got on to the topic of it's probably an eclipse somewhere about this. Because I know we clipped it, of poop gameplay. And we realized, because I started realizing, like Vertigo said something and I went down the list and then Darj picked up on it and Vertigo picked up on it and we started realizing, it's like, do you realize what it's going to take to get poo gameplay into the game? Hygiene? Yeah. Poop. Because it's Chris Roberts. We're not gonna have just some animator animating some guy on the toilet going, We're going to have some poor bastard in a fucking mocap suit, and he's gonna have to act out every different type of poop you can have. And so you have some guy in a mocap suit squatting in front of cameras, making different poop faces, and then you're gonna have like the audio team is gonna have to go record the difference between a solid poop and a wet poop. And then some poor junior animator is gonna have to take that mocap information and is gonna have to animate it so that it's somewhat believable so that they can get the whole thing in. And then the gameplay team is gonna have to figure out, do you have to purge the septic tank inside the ship? When do you have to? And can you sell it as commodities? The difference between different types of toilets. Because this is a Chris Roberts game. He's going to do dumb shit like that. So that clip made it so that the next time that the Captain's Table was at, the next time, like the next year, the Captain's Table, there was a Captain's Table on April 1st. So we did a legitimate episode on April Fool's Day that was just about poop. Straight-faced, hygiene gameplay, poop gameplay. Then the entire team will have to watch and listen to all the poop visuals and audio in that super nice theater room they have. Yeah, and then some poor QA is gonna have to figure out how you can use poop to break the game. So as a result, the next time they actually do hygiene gameplay updates, I will bring Darj. I will make sure that Darj and Vertigo come on at the same time. Again, here we're talking about toilet sounds. We're talking about the 24 Captain's Table, and how like Darge and Vertigo have ended up becoming this chaos gremlin duo, and it became because I had them both on, and we were talking about a Hygiene gameplay at some point. If I remember correctly, we may have mocapped some of this already. Yes, they have. You have, in fact, already done this process. And I am looking forward to interviewing the animator on the poop mechanics. I will reach out specifically to use my limited contacts inside CIG so that I can figure out who the animator is who had to do the poo mechanics and interview them so I can get their detailed information of how they feel about doing poo mechanics in a space game. Only at CIG will there be a person who can put it on their CV that they animated the toilets, and it being a significant part of the game. You ate 4 burritos, combo buttons a la God of War to retain the Georgia mud pie that's boiling in your guts. Bring on Trendane, Bod699, Starsion Stackus, Geek Domo. Stackus still hangs out. I think Stackus is on the on the yacht club sometimes. Domo, I don't know what Domo's doing. Bod699 shows up every so often. Trendane's still around, but Trendane works. Trendane's a voice actor, so. Scum has a pretty in-depth poo and nutrition gameplay. I know. Unrelated, I remember reading about a lore about a lesbian couple a few months ago, and I can't find it in the Galactopedia. Kind of. It's a little bit more spicy than that. It's at least a non-binary. No, they're not non-binary. Trans. It's a lesbian couple with one of them identifying as a male. And that whole, like, they were just minors. Like, they were married, but they were minors who came out to God, what was it called? Croshaw. They go out to Croshaw. And their identity is what sparked the whole fucking thing, a whole fucking political issue. Because the sheriff of the area that they went out to go work in the mines for, hated the UEE. Not the UEE, the UNE. He was an anti-unificationist. So he was looking for excuses to prevent immigrants coming from Earth to work in Croshaw, and found out that this non-traditional couple was there, and so he was like harassing them, and then found out that one of them on their birth certificate was they were lesbians, was male and was identified as a female. So they and so he arrested that one for fake ID. And rightfully, a lot of people were like, "You arrested them because they're trans," and he said, "No, I'm not." And it was mostly about unificationists versus anti-unificationists. Basically, the side that didn't want the UNE was doing everything in their power after the war to continue to disrupt UNE operations. And this guy had a personal vendetta against immigrants coming in and was attacking them for that. This isn't 2900s, Lady Space Patrol. This was 23 something. This is like really close after the discovery of the first jump points. Like, we're talking maybe 100 years. This is not something that CIG actively promotes in terms of the lore, but it's realistic. They're taking a lot of inspiration from other events where it's just like basically this anti-unification unification fight that happens sparks this protest movement and this group that are trying to promote a bill of rights, a universal bill of rights for all UNE citizens for equal treatment, and or all UE, like not citizens but people who live in the UNE. And eventually she was let out of prison, but they continued to use this movement, and I think the guy ended up getting killed in a shootout because of other things. And this movement continued on to create Star Citizen's in-game version of Pride Month. So there's an in-game lore version of Pride Month, which is called like Unity Week. It might be Identity Week. Let me look it up. I actually was doing research on it because a lot of it has to be tied into stuff we've heard about but never really seen, which is like the UNE, the UEE Declaration of Human Rights, which is sort of their civil Bill of Rights sort of thing. The founder of Pyrotechnical Amalgamated was gay. That was canonical as well. Like homosexual and like, I don't know if, yeah, homosexual couples are not super common in the lore of Star Citizen, but like for every like 100 characters you hear about, one of them is gay. But it's never like their identity. It's usually like it's an ancillary to everything else they do. Because the guy who founded Pyrotechnic Amalgamated was insane. Like he was a visionary, if you were, because he's the guy who's like, I'm gonna figure out how to make Pyrotechnical Amalgamated work, you know. Will we get in-game decorations for holidays? I hope so. Before 1.0. He's just, so it sounds like he was an insane man who also happened to be gay. That's a lot of the characters. There's rarely any sort of identity politics, sort of like that sort of drives these things. Even like in the Tavaran lore, which is sort of a stand-in for a lot of like civil rights issues and other social issues in Star Citizen storytelling. It's usually based, like the discussions are almost never based around like bigots and UEE versus the poor Tavaran. It's like the Tavaran are arguing with themselves about how to achieve more power for their people. Which, if you look at history, typically that's how most anti-imperialist groups, civil rights groups, how they sort of move is a lot of it is interfighting amongst each other to figure out what's the best method, and then choosing one method and then having it work, you know. They will be added to the character creator eventually. I think CIG is missing the trick by not making that a priority. Okay, so it was like June of 2023, I think. $2022? No, wasn't that. Yeah, I'm wanting to. This is something I've been meaning to do for a while, and I'll probably do it over like Thanksgiving and the holidays. Is I want to do a lot of niche content about stuff that I know that YouTube won't do very well on YouTube, that I want to release to my Patreons and to members on YouTube, and then eventually release that to everybody else. Could have sworn. It was in a jump point, is what I'm looking through. That's too old. Before 2022. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I found it. Celebration Week. So it's called Celebration Week. I'll read a little bit of this. This is from one of the organizers. Humanity's expansion into space has been one step forward, followed by a series of small steps back. September 27th, 2395. It was a blisteringly cold day on Cascadia Van Croshaw 3 when T. Ladigan delivered that remark to a crowd of enraged protesters. Ladigan wore a custom multicolored fluffy jacket with the light armor discreetly woven into it. This meager protection was the most they would compromise, despite several credible threats to their life. Ladigan spoke passionately and inspiringly about the power of being able to choose who you are and who you love. Their fury and conviction inflamed by the recent arrest of two women, Mona Advikin and Jane Belly, for applying for a marriage license. Advikin and Belly met in Cascadia in 2393. The two received a marriage license at Cascadia City Administration Center, only to be arrested outside the region's by the region's elected security chief, Devon Alonzo, who claimed his authority superseded the city's. The city officials attempted to physically stop Alonzo, only to be arrested themselves and charged with obstruction of justice. Then, when Alonzo officially processed Advikin, he discovered that she had previously issued a government ID identifying her as male in her possession, and added identity fraud to their list of charges. Recent immigrants from Earth, Advikin, and Belly were unaware of the brewing dispute in the region of Van about who held ultimate authority. Alonzo represented the area's long-term residents who, in 2386, held a local election to designate the region Sorasa and declared independent from the UNE. This proclamation of independence was meant to preempt any attempts by the UNE to bring the region under its control. So this is in the middle of the Unification Wars. The majority of Sarasota's residents were homesteaders who moved to this desolate region to avoid UNE authority and influence, including many, including Alonzo, were on the losing side of the Unification Wars. After declaring Sarasosa self-governed in 2386, they voted every few years who held seats of power in the regional council, which passed laws governing Sarosa, including the controversial marriage statute. Alonso revoked during the arrest of Atkin and Belly. Meanwhile, Cascadia experienced a mining boom in 2390 that transitioned it from a sleepy outpost to a bustling center of trade and industry. Many of the miners supported and support staff who flocked to Cascadia, including Avakin and Belly, simply assumed the area was part of the UNE. This wave of immigration threatened to upend the balance of power in Sorosa and drove Alonso to arrest Atkin and Belly to send a message. This is not the UNE. Yet this hyper-local action sent shockwaves rippling through humanity, making many people question not only where humanity should expand, but how. So you get the idea. This wasn't an issue about their identities. He was simply using the excuse of their identities to make a big stink and a show about what's going on in order for them to try to scare away the newcomers who were basically unificationists. These were anti-unificationists trying to prevent unificationists from taking over the local government. Oh, fuck, he's a sovereign citizen sheriff. Yeah. Do you think CIG will come out with lore on why Star Citizen 1.0 will only have 5 systems accessible at launch? Or do you think it'll be hand-waved? It'll be hand-waved. They're not going to come up with lore. They'll just not explain it because the stories are only going to take place in those 5 systems, at least for the 1.0 storyline. See, like, I think that's the best way of adding this sort of thing, because what this does, I'll continue on with this, because I want to do this full thing. But basically, the arrest happens, and it spreads across the UNE. People get pissed off about it. Marches and protests condemning the arrest occurred across the UNE, including public debate over political solutions and what values were essentially were essential for humanity. Lawyers flocked to represent the arrested couple pro bono. They quickly cited the patchwork of laws that passed by the regional council and filed dozens of motions contesting the arrests with the regional court, only convening twice a month. The defendants' lawyers knew it would take months for their motions to be considered, which would delay their trials until after the next regional council election. So in 2396, simultaneously, Latigan fielded a crop of candidates for the next regional election and organized a voter registration campaign. A massive turnout from residents of Cascadia resulted in new members. I forgot. He got this whole action fucking Streisand affected because it turned people who were just minors into political agents. Christiana Storm for that raid. You're very important pubbers, very impressive, Mr. Rainy pedestrians. Welcome. My name is Paul Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Got a good one for you. How you all doing? How was the stream? We're just talking about my other thing that I do other than talk about Star Citizen is talk about Star Citizen's lore. We're talking about an event in lore that led to something called Celebration Week. The short summary of it is 2 women wanted to get married on a at the time pretty remote area in a remote planet in the Star Citizen universe, really early on in humanity's history. And because of political shenanigans, they got arrested. And and their licenses were they got arrested because of their license, and then they got their attempt to get a license, and the sheriff, the local sheriff, basically declared that null and void, and they were under arrest for, like, one of them was under arrest for identity fraud because they had an older ID that identified them as male. And it's all because of, like, the local regions were refugees from a war called the Unification War, which happened very early on in humanity's space history with the formation of the UNE, which eventually became the UPE and now the UEE. And they had fought against, they were the browncoats kind of thing. They fought against unification. They lost, they fled. And then they were seeing this influx of people because of a mining operation. And this was sort of a last straw, sort of, let's make an example out of these newcomers to show them that we're serious, and we've got the law on our side. We've got violence on our side. And it didn't go well. It was all UNE and anti-UNE politics. And so this poor couple was caught in the crossfire of the whole thing. Like, they had nothing to do with it. They were just in this sort of political political crossfire. A massive turnout from the residents of Cascadia resulted in new members being elected, 4 out of the 5 seats on the regional council, and Alonso losing his position as security chief. The first session of the new regional council saw them repeal dozens of laws, including the ones used to arrest Advocate and Belly. The resulted court cases were tossed out, causing celebrations across the UNE. The political blowback didn't end there. Its effects are felt at planet system and UNE-wide levels for years to come. It began on Van with a movement based in Jealous City to bring all regions of the planet under a central planet-wide government that would set standards for each region must uphold and funnel any legal disputes between local and regional laws into the planet's legal system. The plan based on following a planet-wide vote in 2389 or 98, which meanwhile legislatures in Angeli Quinton, Croshaw II, spent years drafting the debate of system-wide laws that enshroud the right of people to self-determine their romantic relationships and gender identities, guarantee protection against discrimination, and more. The legislation was eventually passed in 2401. Similar laws slowly worked their way through the UNE legislature, but faced pushback from some representatives who believed local authorities should have the right to determine such matters. Eventually, it became obvious that the omnibus bill drafted to cover everything from the right to self-determine one's gender identity to regulating the number of hours minors could work in a day faced too much opposition. So instead, parts of the bill were separated out and voted on individually. The laws making gender markers optional on government IDs was the first to pass on June 25th, 2405. A few days later, the right for any consenting adults to marry was also approved. So basically, it goes on to explain that as a result of this sort of political movement that was sparked because of this arrest, today in the UEE, they have Celebration Week, which happens starting on June 25th of every year. Wrong place, wrong time. We're just talking about the Celebration Week. It's sort of like it's kind of like Juneteenth mixed with Pride Month sort of thing. It's just sort of this celebration of an event that happened that was big for civil rights in the UAE. You got stream sniped near the end of and didn't lose anything of importance though. That's okay. I'm sorry you got stream sniped though. Tier 0 is so good. The right man in the wrong place can make all the difference in the world. Yeah. Yes. But I knew about this because I was doing research on legal rights in the UAE because I want to do a very dry, boring video, which breaks down all of the rights of citizens in the UAE. So, or not even citizens, of residents of the UAE, so they can compare them to like how rights and responsibilities work in our modern day. Get 5 more of those. That's good. Don't you agree? Mr. Freeman. Yeah, I with Onyx. Onyx has so many freaking Half-Life references. The tram that takes you into the anomaly power core is so amazing. Yes, please, I want to see that video. I don't think it would do well, so the plan is to do that video sometime in the next couple of months and then release it to Patreons, and it'll just stay in Patreon until I want to drop it for everybody else, so I can still work on some other stuff. No, isn't it from the Matrix? No, the tram that goes from, that's the tram that goes into the one that's kind of like the sideways tram, the sideways elevator. That one's actually from it's from the Matrix, but that itself is also from Akira. In Mexico and Wasted, much pull up this stream to make watch time revenue. What? Thank you. Enjoy being drunk in Mexico. Listen to me. Is it lead or lead? I couldn't say that. ¿De dónde ir el baño? Requido un cerveza, por favor. ¿De dónde está la biblioteca? I'll do what I'm going to do is I'll reach out to Legal Eagle when Squadron 42 is released, and gosh, the guy who works with him is in his firm, the former JAG officer and Marine journal lawyer. I'll ask him if we can do a collab where he can break down the war crimes. Does Squadron 42 how many times do you violate the Geneva Convention in Squadron 42? Legal Eagle is not on my bingo card. Oh, I mean, I love Legal Eagle, so. That's Spanish, not Mexican. God damn it. Same fucking difference. That's like saying it's American, not English. God damn it. We speak American in America. None of this fancy fucking English. Donde está is fine. De donde. But de donde is funny because it sounds funny. De donde. Now, there's a great video that that Legal Eagle did on they actually read the contract in the final room of training for Helldivers 2. The enlistment contract. And he broke it down basing it off of actual military contracts. That is the kind of thing that I would 100% expect. And CIG, please do this. When you do the application for the Flight Academy, which is the whole startup of the game for Squad 42, please have a full contract listed there, or somewhere there's a contract where you have to sign, which has the full fucking contract of like your enlistment ideas. That would be great. It'd be a nice little addition for like a small amount of time. All right. So I've been delaying this enough because I've been talking about this for 2 hours and we haven't even gotten to it. Keep getting distracted. God damn it, chat. I meant to pull up this. Where are you? All right. Darn it. Message of the day. Wednesday. We have 2 current goals going into this week. We are aiming to start a 4.4 Evocati testing as early as next week. We're also putting together a separate engineering tech preview for a playtest with Evocati later this week if all goes well. So we are getting engineering tech preview this weekend or next week. Soon, TM. CIG, just as a reminder, CIG never, and I mean never, reveal Ocean, buddy. That's great and all that kind of stuff, but you can get better at being a troll. Come back when you're better at being a troll. It's lazy ass shit. This is like weak sauce from that would have been weak sauce 10 years ago. Waka pretty much confirmed that TP will be on Monday. All right. So my guess is they originally wanted to do it over the weekend, but they didn't think they'd have it done until Monday. So it's good. That troll was still in there popped balls 10 years ago, Astro. Man, I wish I had Gen Alpha or Gen Z hecklers. Fuck, those kids are fucking creative. Now it's probably just some, someone my age, sadly. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, God damn, my generation is weak as fuck. Like what happened to us? Like we fell the fuck off. We just lost our spite. We lost our bite. Us lazy millennials, yeah. So what does this mean about Vulcan? Nothing. It's not a linear progression. So like just because they did Vulcan, that one Vulcan test, and they haven't done it again, doesn't mean that like it won't still be the first thing they add. They may just do engineering test, and then they'll do a crafting test, and then they'll go back and do another Vulcan test. It'll just depends on what they need. Got worked into oblivion. Is that what happened? Yeah, that makes sense. Gen Z took it all and weaponized it. Yeah, that's true too. They have the power of lead on their side. That's a power of crazy that none of us can aspire to. Don't you have any guts to play for blood? What? Oh, you're talking about like us getting spicy? Yeah. I'm no better. Most of Gen X over became corpos, investment fund managers. Yeah. And it's let the microplastics fuel our autism, along with the sweet, delicious Tylenol. Got to make sure you know, I realize that's the reason why I'm getting dumber is because I don't take Tylenol anymore, so I need to start taking it again. Yeah, I figured that was. You were right. We need to get some iron in our blood, or lead, or something. We need to get back to crazy. You also need to up your macroplastic intake, Astro. You got to build more, so you can build more minis. You're right. I have been frighteningly low on that. But yeah, for those of you who are interested in all the stuff we talked about before, like the rights and laws, I want to do a rights episode. And then I've actually talked with a lawyer who's a fan of Star Citizen, who's not a content creator, who's been like going through and looking at all the stuff you can find in terms of law, in terms of like lore that deals with law, and kind of doing analysis on it. I know there's a couple people on who do economics for a living who I've talked with in the past about working with to do like a breakdown of the cost of living, calculating the basket of people who live on different stations. Have I tried main sequence game? The demo is great. It's a factory game in space. I'll have to take a look at it. No, I saw there was a game that's released which is a part bounty hunting mech game, part farm simulator. Called Bounty Star. I'm gonna subject you to it. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge mech fan. I'm a huge fan of stompy fighty and anything mecha based. What am I doing?
Got a lucrative job, just sitting here. This building and the Junkie Mark II, primed to be the foundation of a legitimate operation. Clean it up, power it up, and take on a handful of low-risk bounties. And then the cash will start pouring in.
They say rock bottom's the end. They're wrong. That's where the real work begins. Being in this place for a moment reminded me of greener times and places. It was good for me. I tried to run away from the things I've done. Thought distance could bury them. But ghosts don't care how far you ride. And I'm tired of running.
Remember Mech Warrior 2? I remember. Mercer and Marsha in the VA? Oh, that's amazing. I know what you're talking about. No, it's different. This is Annapura. Annapura Interactive. So they did like I'm trying to think of, like, they did a lot of like indie games. I don't think they've really hit. I think they did they have a Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth is one of them. Wild Hearts, Skin Deep. Lego Voyagers. Cocoon. Did Annapurna did Outer Wilds as well? That's interesting. Good stuff. Steam reviews don't look great, however. I'm sure it's a shallow game in the context of what it does. They did Stray. Okay, Stray was another one, yeah. And Journey. Interesting, they don't have it on their their YouTube. They don't have either of those on their YouTube. Yeah, I know Stray. Stray's pretty famous. Didn't they win an Oscar for Stray? Or Stray? Am I thinking it's a movie, right? Or is that a game? There's also a game. Oh, it's a game. Okay. Published by Annapurna. Okay. So it wasn't developed by Annapurna. There's Stray is the game where it's robots and you play as a cat. And then there is one that recently won an Oscar that's about a cat. I can't remember what that one was called, but it's very similar. It's like Stray, the movie almost. Oh, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, Jin. Let's see what the review is on Steam. Mixed. It's only got 28 reviews, though. A lot of people said the premise is great, the story is good, but the combat is kind of meh. Have had to deal with the runners yet? The runners, no. I don't know who the runners are. I own Lightyear Frontier, Ian. I played it. I just haven't played it on the stream. The reason it's got bad reviews is because the studio head was a dickhead. The entire studio will fuck off and replace them all with underpaid artists. So there's a lot of drama behind that studio. Okay. The ones Mike was talking about, never had to run in with them. No. Ironically, Akila was that was the original premise of Rebel Galaxy. That was what Rebel Galaxy was going to be, but they didn't have the experience or the time to do it. So they switched it from the privateer, like the privateer, the idea for like a privateer homage to being like a third person Age of Sail sort of style. And when Rebel Galaxy did well, they decided to actually double down and do Outlaw. To be fair, the first game was pretty fun, but the main story was literally Wing Commander Privateer with the serial numbers filed off. I mean, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw was just privateer / freelancer. I think it was literally freelancer. It was just freelancer with the serial numbers filed off. CZs are full of runners now. That must is that what they call people who sprint back into CZs after they die? Runners? Wait, Outer Wilds 2 is really 5 days early access? I'm sure it is. I know it's gotten pretty good reviews right now, but I didn't play the first one. Runners are the guys who run up to melee and take your gun. Okay. RGO is good, and the story was more original, but it was really, I mean, like the gameplay and the style and the design is very freelancer. To be fair, you could melee and take the gun for an entire year since Tier 0. This isn't new. No, but people discovered it. It was always, Tier 0 is always supposed to be a Band-Aid. Like the actual Tier 1 implementation, you still lose your shit when you die. It's just gets bricked. So you still can't loot people's stuff because it just blows up. But you don't come back with it. You have to claim it and it has to come back in. Hey, Gotos. I wish Freelancer 2 was a thing. That's what I thought CR was going to make back in 2012, more or less. That's what the original plan was. And Vidblitz, don't get mad at me. Do not get mad at me. Freelancer 2 is just Starfield. That's what it is. If Bethesda didn't want to do their own crazy space game with their own backstory, they would have almost certainly just taken the Freelancer IP, because it's owned by Microsoft, and made Freelancer 2. I'm not even mad. Yeah, that's happened. That literally happened like on Sunday when we were doing it, when I was part of the ground team for the lore operation. And one of our guys, it was the one big one, one of our guys dropped his gun. He disappeared. I've been farming the space AKs, and there's been a large population of runners this patch. Have you heard the new Telltale Games dev dispatch? It's a mix of Invincible and Suicide Squad. I've heard about it. I'm interested in playing it, sure. All right, I'm going to go get something to drink. And what we're going to do, I'm going to do a monthly report. Not a monthly report, a roadmap roundup where we look at all of the stuff that's coming in 4.4. Because for those of you who don't know, 4.4 Evocati is coming out next week. And as of what I'm hearing, the tech preview test for engineering, the new engineering, is coming out on Monday. But before I do, I will say this. I did some research on Starfield before Starfield was released, and I think I'm fascinated by it. And I'd love to do do a video on it on my own. I have no idea where I'd put it, but the story behind Starfield as a game is insane. It is, the fact that it failed as hard as it did is probably one of the most hurtful things to Todd Howard ever. Because it became clear, absolutely crystal clear, that Todd Howard is a gigantic space fan. He loves Star Trek. He loves Wing Commander. He loves Star Wars. He loves space. Space and science fiction are his thing. And we actually have evidence of posts that he made that he always wants to make what he even says that in most recent ones, what he calls the space game. So the idea was the space game was going to be Todd Howard's baby. And he's had ideas for Starfield as far back as 2001. So when they said 20 years in the making, it wasn't wrong. This has been in Todd Howard's head for decades. And he never had the time, the energy, or the money to make it. At one point, it was literally going to be a Star Trek game, and they had, of all people, Obsidian Entertainment making it. Which is why a lot of people, I always thought it's very convenient that The Outer Worlds came out a couple of years before Starfield, right around the same time Starfield was being announced. No, it was Daggerfall in space. That makes a lot of sense, actually, because that is quite that Daggerfall. Well, not Daggerfall. Yeah, I think Todd Howard worked on Daggerfall. Where's engineering? It's coming out on Monday, apparently. Is that where they went wrong, trying to use an older engine? No, it's bad game design. Like, there's plenty of like hours long videos on the problem with Starfield. The problem with Starfield is that Bethesda attempted to create a game that they made in 2002, but with modern graphics. But at the same time, they were using the same Bethesda ethos that they've developed since then. So they were trying to take the game Morrowind from 2022. I think it was 2002. And they were trying to update Morrowind in space with the philosophies they've developed since then. And as a result, Starfield is fun. I've played it. I still enjoy it. But it was never going to be the Skyrim in space, the sort of kick in the ass that the game was supposed to be, or the game was going to be, or potential to be. I thought for sure it would be, because it would be simplification for the masses. The engine didn't help, but I think a lot of the design decisions were the things that sort of kicked it in the ass. The travel mechanics are shallow. Space travel is shallow, and exploration is shallow. And the thing is about exploration is that's the thing that Bethesda does really well, is sort of environmental storytelling and exploration. And by just sort of making it random RNG whenever you land on a planet, it sort of removes any connection to the game. Like, even No Man's Sky has better connection with its RNG mechanics than Starfield does. what made Morrowind great and all the things that you could do in Morrowind that you can't do in Bethesda games anymore. I think at its core, Starfield has that Morrowind aesthetic, that's Morrowind idea. Because like there's a lot of stuff you can do in Starfield, which completely takes you off the beaten path in ways that other games, even in like Fallout 4 and Skyrim, never did. And there's lots of like customizations and stuff you can do. The problem is that Bethesda also has this philosophy that they have been developing since Morrowind, which is less is better. Because they felt that Morrowind was too big, and so they wanted to condense all of those things into smaller areas, improve the AI, improve the gameplay, and improve the combat. So they wanted to improve the AI, which is clear because if you know about the Radiant AI system they developed for Oblivion, it clearly that was too expensive for them to do with the hardware at the time. Because Oblivion's AI, and I don't doubt this, when they first turned it on, when they were first developing it, it would brick the game. Oblivion's AI would soft lock the game. And so as a result, and Morrowind too big is a mentality of failure. But the idea being that you got to remember that we're talking about the Xbox and the Xbox 360. Very small memory loads. The hardware can only handle so much. So they wanted to have this new AI system, which meant that they had to sacrifice something, and they sacrificed the size. Oh yes, consoles exist. My bad. Yeah. So, like what they said that their Radiant AI system, or not Radiant AI, their AI system, the system they created for their smart AI, what they would do was they would give every AI character tags similar to what the CIG does, where they have their own personalities and their goals and their achievements, and then they give the instruction to these AI to achieve your goals and to see what happened. And what they had was sometimes bandits would come into cities and raid the cities, kill everyone, and take them over. Other times, the guards would go out into the woods, and not just guards, but like guards and random civilians would go out in the woods and kill every living creature, including quest vital NPCs. And so what they had to, that's one of the reasons why they had to make the invulnerability system in Oblivion, where like they made certain NPCs immortal, because the NPCs would start fucking murdering each other. And you can still see elements of that system in Oblivion, which is why they do these weird, funky things in Oblivion, is because they're basically this unrestrained AI system that they shackled, and those shackles are causing it to go insane. Gosh, what was I going to say? And then when they did Skyrim, the big thing was combat. They wanted to improve the combat systems because the combat of Morrowind sucked. Oblivion was better, but it was kind of bad. And again, because they wanted to do better combat, they wanted to do better animations, and they wanted to have NPCs be more challenging with that combat. So, and diversify the combat. So they shrunk the size of the map. In the process, they've also been simplifying the game mechanics over time. So they're making it smoother and easier to understand. They wanted to make it new player friendly. So as a result, what I'm trying to say is they slimmed down the size in order so that they could have better AI and better combat. So when Starfield came out, it was the basis of it was this, what if we took all of the great ideas we had from Morrowind and put it into a game we design today with all of the things we've learned since Morrowind. Because now they could start expanding the universe with this procedurally generation tech. And yeah, no, I agree too, as I was going to say. The way they implemented procedural generation was a mistake. If they couldn't do full planets, they needed to have bigger maps. And they need to have been handcrafted. You know what? Smaller maps are fine. I had a period in Morrowind where I spent all day just trying to cross the Ashlands in a space where no fast travel bugs could help me. It was a good idea that you needed to flesh it out more. I think they're hitting the limits of they were hitting the limits of their engine. And the reason why we saw the Oblivion remaster done in Unreal is likely because they're testing out the idea of using Unreal for future games. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took elements of the engine, like they did with Oblivion Remastered, took elements of the engine from Creation 2 engine, the Starfield engine, and then combined it with Unreal so they could get the benefits of the Creation engine with the benefits of Unreal. Why are we talking about space stars on this Roach Motel stream? Because we were talking about Star Citizen originally being Freelancer 2, and so I ended up being talking about how if you want Freelancer 2, go play Starfield. It's okay. I can tie it back to Star Citizen as well. That's one of the reasons why Star Citizen evolved beyond Freelancer 2. Because I don't like this fact now, but it was right, I believe, at the time when CIG, it was correct at the time when CIG did this, which is the whole, we reserve the right to make a better decision. Because when they started funding the game, they had an idea, but then they started getting so much money, they were like, we can do more. And so they sort of lucked into what they were doing. And you can see that with Star Citizen now, is that I believe 100% that Star Citizen now is 10 times better than the original vision, even if the original vision would have been done 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And as a result, it sucks because some people just want Freelancer 2, and I get it. People, they should see it. Not CIG. Microsoft could make Freelancer 2 if they wanted to. They have the rights. There is no MMO for Freelancer. The Freelancer online component was a hack done by players after the fact. So they made some decisions which I would have preferred, like the original vision, like Reputation. Yeah, the Reputation system, it was directly pulled from, the original Reputation system is directly pulled from Freelancer. And it should that should have stayed around. I don't like CIG's current direction with Reputation because it doesn't matter. Let's do planetary landings. The planetary landings themselves have added more importance to the game. People like the meme Squad 42 2026 or 2016, but it truly was a pivotal point for Star Citizen. It's why there will probably be competitor. There'll never be a competitor for in our lifetimes. I will go on my pedestal before I get some water so we can actually do this thing. But Star Citizen is there's never going to be a Star Citizen competitor. I will proudly proclaim there will never be a competitor to Star Citizen at the same scale of Star Citizen. Not in 10, 20 years. And the reason why is because Star Citizen is not financially viable. No one will make Star Citizen. And it's not because of the bugs, it's because of the finances. Despite the like, oh, well, you know, CIG has raised raised almost $1 billion. of almost $1 billion over the course of 14 years is nothing with a studio with 1,000+ people in it. Now, of course, they didn't start with 1,000+ people, but their growth of the studio plus their money is chump change. It's basically nothing, because we know their financials because they have to report it by the British government. And it's effectively, some years they're over by a couple million, some years they're under by a couple million, but they're never making a huge profit. Their profit is tiny in comparison to what they have. No one will make Star Citizen, including CIG, 13 years and counting. CIG will still make it because the end goal of CIG is to make Star Citizen. As long as people fund the game, CIG will continue to make Star Citizen. Because that's their end goal. Not a huge profit. Most games would not invest $1 billion into a game unless they were guaranteed $4 billion in return. There is too much money invested in Star Citizen for it to, like, this thing. CIG is not going to make back $1 billion when Squadron releases. When Star Citizen releases, they will not make $1 billion in the usual time period. So you'll see people go, oh, 1.0 is released, but their sales have flopped and the concurrency is low or whatever. It's dropped off after a month or two or whatever. As CIG is, there's no way CIG is successful. This game is a flop. Even if people are playing it, it'll say it's a flop because it didn't make enough money. Because again, they don't have to make money. They just have to keep themselves open. The goal of the game is for the game to be made and to be played. That is the mentality. No matter how often you hear people say CIG is just milking backers for money, no, they're frantically trying to get money to stay open. There are shareholders, but they are partial owners of the company and they're personal friends of Chris Roberts and his family. I'm still out of water, yes. We're getting into like Star Citizen stuff, so. As a result, no other company will ever risk something like Star Citizen. It will require the technology of video game making to advance enough so that a small team of dedicated developers can make a game the scale and complexity of Star Citizen for it to work. Because no major publisher will ever make a game like Star Citizen. They'll try to copy some of the successes of it, to try to ape it so that they can, within smaller budgets, in order for them to ride the coattails, using things like Star Wars, Star Trek, other games like that, to sort of, other franchises like that, to try to boost the popularity. But there is no game that will take the risk that Star Citizen takes. GTA in space could be a massive money printer for Star Citizen or for CIG. Yeah. They finally have a good foundation, which will to build a proper scalable system on. Next couple of years could be a good increase in the game systems and playability coming online. I mean, we're getting the, what effectively is Nyx next month. Like, to be honest with you, Nyx was never supposed to have a habitable world. And even the habitable world that Nyx is going to have, I guarantee you is there for base building. So like most of the content you would have in Nyx is the Glacium Ring. It's Levski and the Glacium Ring. And that's what we're getting with 4.4 is Levski and the Glacium Ring. 13 years. Because it was 2012. So yeah, 2012 is when it was started. When 1.0 is released, do you think the monetization model, what do you think is the monetization model and what do you hope it will be? What I hope it will be is they sell game packages and they don't sell ships. And the only time they sell ships is at big sales. So they stop selling ships entirely. They only sell game packages. And the biggest game package you can purchase is $100. You can still purchase skins and armor and weapons, because the reality is that 1.0 Star Citizen, that all that shit is just garbage. It's caca. It's pointless. It's only if you want the aesthetics, because the stats of those things are going to be awful in comparison to a fully upgraded tier 3 ship. Even like a tier 3 version of an Aurora will do better than like a tier 1 implementation, tier 1 build of a Hornet. So you can still sell ships as game packages, and then still sell ships like individually, like the way they do now at big sales, as a way of either drawing up interest in terms of the game, in terms of like investments, but mostly it's there as sort of like a throwback. I do think that they should still sell concept ships, or at least straight to flyable ships, because I think they don't want to do concept ships, but straight to flyable ships, so new ships should be sold at these events. I believe they should also be available in-game at the same time, even if it's through like part of the story. So like whatever mission is being released or content that's being released in that patch should also correspond with you being able to finish that content and buy the ship in-game through that contact. It's not pointless because you get the blueprint to start researching the systems you own. That's true. Yeah, it gives you the basic chassis of it. But in terms of power, it's not at all like viable. Like you jump a lot of that idea of like, which I never like anyways. It's a feels bad, I know, but when I hear people say, well, when 1.0 comes out, all the people who've purchased all the ships will be have such an advantage that it's pay to win. And then you point out this. I always like to point out this when people say that sort of thing. It's like, it feels bad that people can get all of these ships before the game starts. And I say, all right, what happens a month later? You're a new player to the game, and you came into Star Citizen. Say Star Citizen was like every other MMO, where you had to like earn everything on your way out. Is it fair that a player who's been playing for a month has these big ticket items that they were able to purchase in game, versus the player who just started out and their day one journey at month 1? Is that balanced and fair? If the answer is no, then no game is fair. No MMO is fair, because you never start at the same level playing ground as other players. Actually, the game will be saturated with zero-to-hero players, so it won't really matter. That's true. Now, that's what I hope would happen. What actually will happen with 1.0 is what we have right now will still be done. CIG is not going to change their funding model at all. They're just going to keep doing what they have. Well, they'll change it, but like effectively, it won't be very different from what we have now, where you can buy ships in the store, and then you can also purchase ships in game. You can when you buy ships, they'll be released for a certain amount of time just for people who purchase them, and then eventually released to everybody else. But yeah, advantage would be the old Pioneer land claimer owners having a head start. That won't even be the advantage either, because like that problem, that idea is like, oh yeah, well, land is going to be at a premium. Come here. Right, real close, real close. Instancing. Instancing. That's the answer. You won't be able to lock down an area because if CIG wants to, they can just layer it, that whole area, into a different layer. CIG stated that even if all accounts bought large plots on Daymar, the half the moon would still be empty. Yeah, but I mean, it's also a matter, there's lots of other parts to that, but like CIG, there's not going to be much of an advantage for people to go build stuff because you can't just take your Pioneer, find a sweet spot, and start building a base, because bases require resources. They require clearing out the area. They require building time and defending it from other people. It's not like you instantly run out and then build stuff like instantly. This isn't like Rust where it takes 5 minutes to build a base. CIG wants bases to be end game content in the sense that it takes hours of you playing before you get there. And so even if large groups have huge fleets of pioneers, that doesn't make it faster. You still have to gather the resources and the permits or the blueprints and all that other stuff. So why is he talking to an invisible globe? I'm just getting very close to talk like this. Bases require Vespine gas and more minerals. Marie, even a little cabin in the woods is going to cost you resources and time. And you just getting a cabin in the woods is not, you can get a cabin in the woods. There's not going to be people who like will buy up all of the woods or build up all of the woods. 9 pioneers doesn't make Space Baby faster. Exactly. Now I'm getting one. All right. You must construct additional pylons. It's going to be grind to get a base. Exactly. Yep, time to hydrate and take some Tums. Patch notes also gonna give me heartburn. Well, it's gonna be a capsule, so. All right, y'all ready, chat? 3, 2, 1. Back this a little bit. Oh, hello there. Welcome back. Or just welcome if it's your first time here. My name is Paul, Berserker01, Batman Shelley, and this is an Office Hours capsule. That's right, capsule. a small part of my Office Hours live stream that I do on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Come join us live. Come join chat live as we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, and more. Today we talked a little bit about, which I'll add in here at the end, about the engineering update we got, as well as we've talked about a new segment that I'm doing called the Tractor Beam, where we pull up smaller content creators in the Star Citizen sphere to try to, like, just one video to talk a little bit about what they're talking about. So sometimes YouTube will recommend other content creators, smaller content creators, there's like lots of folks that I follow, like Texas Space Navy, that a lot of people don't talk about. So there's plenty of great content creators that you may have never heard of because CIG doesn't highlight them and other folks don't seem to do it. So I want to do a little bit of that. And of course, it's not an Office Hours without me doing some long tangent about some random things. Like, for instance, we hit a big thing about Starfield and how it's Freelancer 2 and its development cycle and what's right, what's wrong. I did a little soapbox about why Star Citizen will never be, there will never be another Star Citizen. For right, good or bad, there'll never be a Star Citizen, like nothing like Star Citizen. So join us live. Now, this is the roadmap roundup for October 22nd, 2025. This is a big one because it's talking about the next patch in the game. Of course, the next patch in the game is Nyx. So, with all that being said, let's do the roadmap roundup for October 22nd, 2025. All right. Roadmap roundups. I'm not going to read through the intro because it's the same every time. But basically, this is every 2 weeks, they do an update to the roadmap. They do update every so often the I always forget the name of it. There's two roadmaps, basically. There's the release roadmap, and then there's this other roadmap where and it's been so long since I've seen it that I just don't bother anymore. They don't update it but once a quarter, maybe. So this is really more of just sort of an update on what's changed on their long-term roadmap. So notable changes: 432 was released, the Kill Shot, the Pulverizer, the Blade Vic-1, the Anvil Paladin, the Sparrow Stinger, the Gray's Market Shiv, mission pickup on locations, enabling new missions to be discovered and added to journals when you approach or enter a designated area. This being introduced to Wicklow's Imperium. Monocular rangefinders. All this stuff is stuff that they talked about at CitizenCon Direct or earlier. And this is the big one, 4.4. Let's take a look at everything that's coming out with next patch. This is the big one that comes with Nyx. So first of all, new Wicklow ship offerings 4.4. Adding multiple new vehicles and equipment to the ever-expanding Wicklow's Emporium, RSI Meteor and the Guardian MX, with upgraded components and a unique base livery. These rewards can be unlocked by completing Wicklow's contracts. This card set to tentative. Shotgun pistol, the triple down, bolt action, mag drum, double barrel, and a buckshot pistol. Gosh, that sounds dumb. I love it. Progress tracker. Thank you, Infrunners. That's what it was called. Progress tracker, which is dead. So that's why I forgot about it. This is the one. This is the other one we've heard about on at CitizenCon Direct. Missile launcher boom tube. 3 rockets strapped together in a tube, releasing a single deadly payload. It's not 3 rockets. It's 3 grenades. This weapon has a high spread and an arming distance, leaning into its chaotic, unpredictable nature of finding the sweet spot distance. Interstellar hauling missions. Implementing hauling missions that start in one system and finish in another. Another thing they talked about in CitizenCon Direct, it looks like it's going to be a big one. Exterior freight elevators. Adding new ways of loading and unloading cargo in Nyx and Pyro. Now, here's the thing about the exterior freight elevators. they have already been added to several stations already in Pyro. They'll probably be added to Stanton here shortly. Oh no, there's Nyx and Pyro. They've already added them in Pyro, but they haven't been activated. You can't actually use them, but you can find them on stations in Pyro. So that is, a lot of people have asked, like, well, with the new way that you do salvage, how is this going to change? How can I like take a reclaimer and process the salvage? And the answer is exterior freight elevators. You're going to have to go to a exterior freight elevator and unlock it, and then just sort of transfer over all of your goods from your reclaimer to the exterior freight elevator and send it down. That's a big one. It's been like, that's one of those things where even though it's set to tentative, we've already seen evidence of it being worked on in the PU. New Nyx missions pack 1. Adding a first pack of missions to Nyx using existing archetypes with a fresh new narrative spin against new enemies. Nyx jump points, including jump points between Nyx and Pyro and between Nyx and Stanton. Now, it's important to note that the Nyx Stanton one is actually the Nyx Castra jump point, but they've added this as a temporarily connected to Stanton so that people don't have to go from, because originally the way that the jump points work as we know of them right now, and they haven't changed them as far as we know, is that Stanton has jump points to Terra, Pyro, Magnus, I want to say one other system, but it might just be those 3 systems. And as a result, Nyx, or Pyro, has one to Nyx, it has one to Terra, it has one to Bremen, it has a bunch, it's like 6 or 7 jump points. But Nyx doesn't have a jump point between itself and Stanton. So eventually you'll have to go through Pyro to get to Nyx or Castra. So that's why Pyro makes it kind of dangerous. Or because there's going to be Terra as well, you can go from Terra, I think, to Nyx, or Terra to Stanton to Nyx. Or no. Yeah, I think there's a Nyx Terra run. I think there is. What jump point do you think Castra will go to in Stanton? There won't be one. I don't think so. I think they'll have a jump point from Nyx to Castra, and by then they'll allow you to spawn in Nyx, so you don't have to worry about it. So just to understand, this is a temporary jump point, as last they've said. Could they change things? Yes, but it's just a temporary one. And Vandal NPC pilots. The Stinger, Glaive, Scythe, and Blade make an appearance as NPC ships flown by Vandal. So this is almost certainly evidence that we will not be getting Vandal AI on the ground. That was been something that we'd been asking about, that they CIG hadn't clarified. This is almost certainly just a clarification that, hey, even though we're adding the Vandal into the game, they're just the Vandal inside their ships. They're not NPCs you can fight on the ground. Yet. Sworn enemies. Implementing a new operation welcoming players to Nyx. Intersec is looking for contractors willing to investigate abandoned QV logistic stations to follow the trail of Vandal tech that was sold to ASD. Sworn enemies, yeah. So this is the mission they showed off at CitizenCon Direct, where you had to, like, you follow like a Polaris speed up and all that kind of stuff. So my bad, I mean Stanton, where the temp points between Nyx and Stanton. Oh, my guess would be Magnus. Probably the Magnus jump point. Because it probably won't be Terra, because Terra, there's one there. So what is QV Logistics? Have we heard of them before? So QV Planet Systems, I think is what they were called. QV is the name of the company that was sold to, or that purchased the rights to mine Nyx initially after it was discovered. So when they say QV Logistics, that's QV's, the logistics for QV, the company, QV Planetary Services. Nyx System, implementing the Nyx star system into the persistent universe. Glacium Ring. The Glacium Ring, a dense asteroid belt located in the Nyx system. Delamar. Implementing Delamar, an inhabited asteroid in the Nyx system, home of the settlement of Levski, inside the Glacium Ring. Levski. Implementing Levski, a system on the asteroid of, or settlement on the asteroid Delamar in the Nyx system. QV service stations, implementing abandoned QV stations across Nyx, some now occupied by a new enemy faction. So it's important to note that even though we are getting Nyx, we are not getting any planets this first release. Just the Glacium Ring and Delamar and Levski and these stations. Maybe a little bit more probably in terms of like similar to the mining stations we have now in Stanton and Nyx, or Stanton and Pyro. We'll probably see some clever reuse of assets for here and there, but it's just going to be Nyx. And to be fair, that's what was always supposed to be before the surprise of Nyx 1, which is a completely different topic, which I'm working on. And we probably won't be getting Nyx 1, Nyx 2, or Nyx 3 in the game until well into the year. We'll talk about here in a moment. Medium Battletech armor. CIG, I hate you. Because when I hear that, and my only thought is elementals. We're getting elementals in Star Citizen. Let's go. I'd love an elemental-based Titan suit. Oh, this is a good question. Norn asks, isn't there another moon named Delamar in Stanton? No. The moon of Delamar in Stanton was actually the Delamar that was supposed to be in Nyx. It was simply... The Levski was simply what was called the social module, which is why it was done to like test out being able to do on landing zones, going on landing zones. It was part of that. But by the time they released 3.0, after they were working on like how to make Star Citizen different, they had Levski done, but they didn't have anything under the other planets. So they simply had Delamar and Levski in Stanton so you could go visit there and land on the planets before you could go to even Hurston. So it's the first landing zone they had in game, which is why so many players, myself included, have fond memories of it. It's simply now been relocated to its actual location where it was supposed to be in the first place. But yeah, so the medium Battletech armor, I'd love to see what this is. Completing corresponding missions from Wicklow's Emporium. And lastly, new hairstyles 4.4. So, on top of all of this, this is going into Evocati next week. At the earliest next week. So not only is this already being pitched to us in terms of this update for the roadmap update, but it is likely going to start coming into the game because it's supposed to come in the game in November. It is likely going to go into testing next week, Evocati testing, because the release, if it's going to come out in November, has to match up with the release of IAE, because it's going to be the IAE patch. And so we're likely seeing 4.4 released fully by like the 19th. So they've got about a month to Evocati test and release it. That's the reason, one of the reasons why it's no planets. And on top of that, on next Monday, at the earliest, we're going to see a tech preview of engineering. So CIG seems to be really hitting hard on getting a bunch of stuff done at the end of the year. We'll see if they can keep up that pace. But yeah, we're having an Evo next week of 4.4, and we're having a tech preview Evo of engineering. So tech preview engineering, and then tech, and then just regular Evo for Nyx for 4.4. This is it. This is the new system. This is what we're going to get. I don't think we're going to get a patch in December. I believe that's it. We may get one. If we do, it's going to be sort of like a small update patch. But I believe from what it sounds like, this is probably going to be it. And that does mean, as someone says, wait, IAE, Free Fly, and Nyx, does CIG want the servers to melt? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But that's it. hey, that's it for the updates. I do believe that CIG is likely going to do a bunch of tech previews between now and the end of the year, so they can get as much information as possible for Vulcan, for engineering, and for crafting. Especially that crafting is going to be a big one, and we're going to have to see what's going on. I don't know if next year is going to be big, but I will say, because I'm going to release this tomorrow. If you're watching this on Friday, October 24th, on the 25th, I'm going to be doing on my other channel, the Captain's Table podcast, we're going to be doing a 24-hour Captain's Table podcast for charity, for Gamers Outreach. So if you want to come join me, I have folks like It's JoJo, Nonstop Bops, Execute from the Inforunners, Loken Plays, Serious Fun, Star Jump Grim, Fast Cart, Wicked Wookie, Citizen Spooner, Griffin Gaming RPG, 10 Pound 42, plus a lot of regulars you're used to if you watch those, like Axis 0096, and Cepheus. So we've got a ton of, Atira Kell and Night Cobb, a ton of folks. They're all going to be rotating in every 3 hours to help us talk about Star Citizen, about the year in review of Star Citizen, and of course, the big thing being raising money to help kids in hospitals get access to video games so that they aren't as stressed and they feel more normal in there. That's what Gamers Outreach does. It builds these things called go-karts. They call them go-karts, like go-karts. They're pretty expensive, but they're medical grade material with a monitor and with video game consoles and everything that they can use so that they can just roll them right up to the beds of kids, and kids can play video games right from their hospital bed so that they feel normal again, to take their mind off of being in a hospital, because being in a hospital sucks, and it sucks being a kid in a hospital. So help us raise money for sick kids on Saturday, October 25th, for 24 hours, and watch me as I slowly devolve into insanity as I stay up for 24 hours, because I'm staying up for 24 hours. The rest of the guests are going to be rotating on every 3. So with that being said, as always, I want to hear your thoughts down below on anything I've said said before. And if you did enjoy this, like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified when these release. Love to see you come join us live on Thursdays, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Come join us live. Like I say every time, hope to see you someday. The Black. The best part, as AstroPub Live is going insane, the other reason why I turn up, that's the reason, that's the exclusive, he's not even lying. Execute has explicitly said that he wants the last slot in every 24-hour Captain's Table because he wants to see me drunk. Hey, Major Star Stuff, how you doing, buddy? By the way, Major, I don't know if you're available this weekend, but I'm doing a 24-hour Captain's Table, and I still got slots open. More insane. Where are you going to do the last call community pub again? Oh, it's not going to be this weekend. It's going to be next weekend. It's going to be November 1st. I'm going to make an announcement about the topic on Monday of next week. And letting people know, like, hey, here's some of the topics that we want to do. Let me know, and we'll be doing it's called Pub Chat. I'm not a YouTuber, but I'll take a slot. Norton, you've been around forever. But yeah, that's actually, like, that's a good point there, Northern Trooper. If you are not a content creator and you want to talk on the Captain's Table, I literally do single issue videos at Captain's Tables where I bring on members of the community to do this. I like doing the pub chat. They're fun. And if I could get more people to come on, I would, because I'd love to make it an hour. Or not an hour, 2 hours. So that I could do an hour, like in 2 parts, basically. Part 1 and part 2. Yeah, no, actually. So what I do is I usually give people about 5 to 10 minutes. There's a topic, and so like that topic is almost certainly going to be your thoughts on CitizenCon or something that degree. Your thoughts on the end of the year. And one of the things I've discovered is that I believe, and maybe it's just because it's my community so far who's been listening in, I believe that my community, yeah, but that Star Citizen fans in general are a lot less salty than even me. Like, the amount of times I've heard content creators be like, well, everyone's mad because these people are mad, or I've heard players say, oh, I'm mad. And then I was expecting more of that sort of direction with some of these topics we were talking about. But both times I've done it, the community has been surprisingly positive. Like, I've just been like, really? There's a lot of kerfluffle. And it's gone to, hey, come on, Knowledge, it'll be there. You just make sure it's on topic. That's the whole point, is I want to hear from the community. I want it to be a call-in show. I'm a huge fan of Art Bell. All right. But I'm not going to do crazy weird stuff. It's Salty Mike. To a degree, Mike does this already with Answer the Call. And I didn't want to step on Mike's toes when he does his Answer the Call stuff. But I've wanted to do it for a while because I feel like there's so many people who've asked to come onto the Captain's Table who have opinions but do not have content. And there's a lot of people who want to express their opinions in a way that they can get it out there and on the Captain's Table. And I feel like the best place for that is some sort of call-in show so people can go on and talk about it. Fuck yeah, let's talk about 3-Eye Atlas. I love a good it's aliens. Let's talk. To spend time watching live streams videos about a game, you have to be a little drunk on the Kool-Aid. I don't think it's that, man. I think there's just people play the game. There's a theory I've always subscribed to, is that you know a game is good not when people are talking about it, but when no one talks about it. When you have a decent concurrency rate and you can't find a single fucking person talking about it in terms of like detailed analysis. You don't have a great game when people are talking about it and also playing it, but like you have a good game when people aren't talking about it. But you have players. Because when people are enjoying a game, they don't talk about it. They just play the game. Why did it have an anti-tail and now has it as it approaches the perihelion and progressing toward into a tail? Why did not one but two CMEs hit it directly? Those are good questions. That's actually something I've seen. There's a couple of YouTubers, science YouTubers who I know who have studied it, who do these sorts of things, and so they've been gathering a lot of observations have been made for it, and they're weird. It's a weird thing because it's almost certainly a rock, but it's acting funky in terms of what it's supposed to do. In some cases, it's acting like it should, and in other cases, it's acting different. The same thing happened with Oumuamua and 2I Krasnov or whatever it was. Yeah, that's the joke. When it starts slowing down, that's when you'll panic. Yeah, it's behind the sun, so we won't know until October 30th. We've still got months to study it. It's not gonna leave the solar system or even our observational distance until like January. I want to say January, February of next year. Don't think October is going to be the best month, October ever. It's still 5 million short. Already second best, though. A rock. That's exactly what the FanDuel wants you to think. These are all just the bugs taking their shots at us and missing. For a very big empty universe, there's a lot of big rocks flying around. It's like a rendezvous with Rama situation. My personal belief on 3i Atlas is that these things are more common than we realize. Interstellar objects are super common in our galaxy or in our solar system because we're living in a fairly tight cluster of systems. But of solar systems. But as a result, because we haven't been looking for them and we didn't have the technology to specifically spot asteroids like we do now, we didn't see them. It's only been recent in history that we've developed the technology to see these objects. Repulsing. Well, it's not even just that we can see these objects, it's that we've had the ability to see these objects, but we just haven't been looking for them. Like, it's only in the last decade or so that we've actually developed telescopes in space and on the ground specifically to find near-Earth objects. So we're looking at asteroids. Typically, you rely on a lot of amateur radio and stuff like that. Yeah, JWST has really opened up our times. Same with the, oh gosh, what is it called? The solar-based, the L1 point satellite that we have that's facing the sun that we built. That's like designed specifically to hunt asteroids that are trying to hit Earth. Every huge leap in capability and understanding is a server and software upgrade to the simulation. But see, this is the reason why I actually really, really enjoy conspiracy theorists. Because in my opinion, conspiracy theorists are some of the most observational people on the planet. These are people who look for patterns in everything. And as a result, they find them. And sometimes they find good patterns, and in very few cases, but in, not too unsure, they find the right patterns, that they're actually looking at the right thing in terms of like a conspiracy or something weird's going on. But unless it's a really mundane explanation, like for instance, in my experience, like UFOs probably don't have mundane explanations all the time. A lot of them are probably test vehicles that the U.S. military or other militaries or private institutions have been doing. But some of them are completely unexplainable. And us as a society and us as a culture and us as a species should explain these things. We should seek to explain these things. Because if we don't, we're doing a disservice because we never know what we could find. It's hubris to believe that we've seen everything and anything that is possible on this planet, let alone this galaxy. Oh, they find patterns in cases like Zircon. They find the patterns exactly someone wants them to find. Yeah. I would join the call-in show, but I just yap about the salvage changes and bitch about the reclaimer. Well, the idea is that we have a specific topic for the call-in, so you're gonna have to stick to the topic. Large ejections from the sun will also be on October 30th, and the corona ejection from 3i Atlas was from the front. That was the issue too with the structure. NASA went dark when it passed Mars due to the government shutdown. But it's not just NASA. There are other institutions that are looking at it. That's one of the reasons why I love the fact that CIG added the plain truth with Parker Terrell into the lore of Star Citizen, because Parker Terrell is my kind of conspiracy theorist. He is absolutely fantastic as a character, because Parker Terrell is right about everything. He's just wrong in his conclusions. And most of the time, when something is revealed, it's almost always revealed with a Parker Terrell show. Like months beforehand. But the idea is Parker Terrell, like one of my favorites that I used in the Retribution video that I did, is that I believe that there was a weapon that destroyed the planet, or a version of the weapon that destroyed the planet on Hades was discovered and was recreated for the Retribution. Probably using technology gleaned from Vanduul power tech. So what we have with the Retribution is a Vanduul powered, human designed, Hadesian, human built Hadesian designed with Hadesian designed weapon system. Some sort of unholy amalgamation of human and xenotech, specifically because there's no such thing as overkill in a combat situation. And there is a specific planet that was destroyed because it fell into its gas giant, that there was legitimately, no, it wasn't the gas giant. It was this is the like damning evidence. It was a moon or a planet, I think, in Odin. An image of a bright flash occurred on a moon. I think it was a moon in the Odin system that was like doomed, or it was otherwise being like attacked. Like it was being like mined or used as target practice or something like that. And no one can explain why. And Parker Terrell was like, on a separate occasion, like there's this moon that was going to fall into its gas giant and be destroyed. And there was another report of a flash on that moon. And these things are happening within like a year of each other. And then a year later, the fucking Retribution comes out, and Parker Terrell who was an investigative journalist, was saying it's a doomsday weapon. They're testing out a doomsday weapon that they're using to crack planets. It's fucking, it's there, people. It's there. All right. All right. I got my, like, I don't have tinfoil, but you know. Oh, hell yeah. There is plenty of conspiracy theories to do with lore on the conspiracy theories in the verse. I would love to do that video. Holy shit, yeah. Let me look it up. I'll show you real quick. All right. This was posted 4 years ago. This was posted 4 years ago. This was posted in 2020, so 5 years ago. This was posted in 2018. Posted in 2017. 2016. 2016. 2016, 2015, 2015, 2015, 2015, 2014, 14, 2014s. We're at the very beginning of everything. We'll check. Yes, we're at the very beginning of everything. Okay. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So there are 16 plain truth articles. I will show them all to you. This is the first one right here. Welcome, friends. We have an exciting information to show you today. The first, I'd like to introduce a recent addition to the production team over at Plain Truth. Arlo Theodore was a comm specialist for Asiato before joining us. Say hello, Arlo. Hello, hi. I'm talking a little bit about that. You worked for Asiato for 10 years, correct? Yes, sir, 9 years. I understand there was a brink of pretty major promotion before you left. Well, I mean, it wasn't definite. Of course, but it wasn't much a stretch to say your future of Asiato is looking pretty bright. Yes, I suppose. So what changed? Why'd you walk away from it? My brother Marshall, he was always kind of an idiot, you know, always after the coolest new blank. It didn't matter what it was. People were talking about it. He wanted it, regardless of whether he needed it or not. but he was young. Hell, I was a colossal moron when I was his age. Anyway, I just had to, he just had no control, started running up debts, taking out loans to pay other loans, whatever. Throughout all this, he refused to admit how quick he was sinking. He just assumed that he was ultimately untouchable. That would work out well. Well, the Central Core Bank came after him, and then he freaked out, took a ship and ran. The CCB then posted a bounty on him. Yeah, the bounty hunters caught him in Farron, and they killed him. Even though the bounty was drafted as a capture, public record of the incident stated that that your brother attempted to fight them, and they were forced to open fire. That's a redacted lie. It's a fucking lie. He wouldn't have done that. 2 bounty hunters who were involved in the incident were officially cleared of wrongdoing. But if you ask me, the entire situation seemed to be destined for violence the second the CCB issued the bounty. To put your brother in the same category as with murderers and fugitives, I know that's a fantastical concept in the political puppets over at the advocacy, but there's a distinction between violent and non-violent offenders. Marshall was scared. He needed a wake-up call to learn some financial responsibility, not be hunted down and killed. People call this civilization. I ask you, is the sanctioned killing of your brother civilized? For a first-time offender who, like you said, was only guilty of being young and getting caught up in the allure of material possessions, it doesn't sound civilized to me. It's savage. This is not wrong. This is a satire. It's sort of like it's exposing what's actually happening. Like, people shouldn't be getting bounties for crazy things like this. This was written, by the way, May 27th, 2014. Oh, this is earlier. Advocacy. This is advocacy overlords. Overlords. Here's a situation. Multiple levels of law enforcement detain innocent civilians without charge or legal counsel. And for what? Part of the explicit agreement that a populace enters in with its governance is the body is the notion that rules apply for all. If 2 people break the same law, they should be punished equally. What constitutes a crime to one person should extend to everyone else. This also applies to the officials we entrust to enforce these laws. Without establishing an official clause, what happened to Mr. Warden was kidnapping, plain and simple. We can't hold our institutions up to the same rules we, as a public, have to obey. Then it's time we restructure institutions. Based? Based? I say that ironically, y'all, but not so much. We reached out to Kristen Ward, Second Chief of Helios, as well as Director of Commodities Office, to appear on the show to defend their position. They elected not to respond. Sign of the advocacy's new idea of public relations? Maybe. When we come back, we'll take a look at a circle of lives around Lynch's fever. In the meantime, stay vigilant. So, like, both of these are on the advocacy. Like, that one's on the advocacy arresting people for no reason. This is on, like, basically both of these are about abuse of police power. All right, I've been keeping the next guest waiting for long enough. You've been anywhere near the news cycle these days. You've undoubtedly heard the High Secretary bragging about the supposed completion of Phase 10. Joining us this to shed some light on what exactly Phase 10 means for Synthworld construction project is Ed, a private contractor who's been working on the Project Archangel for the past 7 years. It's worth mentioning that Ed is not Ed's real name. We at Brain Truth want to honor Ed's brave decision to speak out by doing everything in our power to protect his employees on anonymity. Ed, I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you being here. Ed's a sort of voice. Thanks, Parker. According to the official release, the completion of Phase 10 means, and I'm reading here, that the atmospheric generators have been properly primed to begin the next step forward in a bold development of the first truly synthetic world. When it goes on listing a bunch of congratulations and backslaps, the real informative stuff. You could enlighten us, Ed, on what Phase 10 is really? I have no idea. Me and the guys were really scratching our heads when we started seeing news come over the feed. I've worked on the thing for 7 years, and the first time I've heard of Phase 10 was this week. What phase is the project in then? As far as I know, we don't use phases to track progress. Maybe they do in the higher ups or something. Those atmospheric generators are real enough though, but they've been in place since before I started, and I doubt they're going to be switched on anytime soon. Why is that? The simplest terms, we don't have gravity for it yet. You start pumping out gas now, you might as well be dumping directly into space. So you see how like a lot of this stuff isn't like aliens did 9/11 kind of thing. It's like legitimate government corruption. I love this guy. This one here. So yeah, like there are 16 Plain Truth episodes that I can pull from and talk about all of the conspiracy theorists, and none of them are really crazy conspiracies. A couple of them are. Like, there's one I'm reading right here. Lord Jito believes that Synth World doesn't exist. And Parker Terrell is like, we're getting sidetracked. With the government's current plan to relieve departmental budget strain by shifting to private contractors, the UE is effectively handing over autonomy to corporate interests. In a really basic illustration of this point, if Megacorp A ends up handing the Empire's waste disposal, or handling the Empire's waste disposal, anytime the UE creates policies regarding waste, they will need to accommodate Megacorp A's contract at best, or bend to their wishes at worst. And then his guest, Lord Shito, says, it's a recipe for destruction. That's why I say, let it burn. Parker goes, I'm sorry. And Jito goes, you've become a sentimentalist, my boy. History has no time for sentimentalists. It's time to accept this whole government is a lost cause and move on. Lawrence, it's the people's duty to stand up to take control of the government that exists to protect and serve them, not sit back and let it disappear. We've come too far for that. Jito, the corporate cabal that's been manipulating the system has finally begun to reveal itself. I firmly believe that the only responsible stance an activist can take is to stand aside and let the whole corrupt system collapse. Wipe away the scum that has polluted human history for centuries. As I mentioned in my book, Fighting Decay. Okay, Lawrence, I wasn't finished. Yeah, you are. We're going to messages from independent advisors. Oh, I see. More like corporate truth. Good night, Wooksley. Oh, I'm going to call it up here soon as well. It's like 11 p.m. my time. Ooh. But that's my point. Is Parker Terrell still alive in the current game year? Yes. Thanks for the great bedtime story. So that's a good idea. Whoever suggested, can I do a video on the lore of conspiracy theories in the verse? I can, and I will. I'll do one on Parker Terrell. And that'll be one of those that I do for Patreon and members, and it just sits in the Patreon and members until I just need something to do, and I'll just drop it out there. All right, y'all. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. I'm going to go to bed. I'll be back on Saturday for our 24-hour captain's table. I'm not going to be here tomorrow because I'm going to take that time to set up the captain's table stuff and sleep because I got to get up super early on Saturday. Last quick question. What army do you play for 40K? I have technically 5 armies. 6 armies. I technically have 6 armies. But I only have painted 2.5 or 3.5, 4-ish. I've been collecting for like 5 years. So yeah. You better say Necrons, or I'm telling Henry Cavill. I don't collect Necrons. My wife collects Necrons. I collect Imperial Guard in order of what I've done. Imperial Guard, Orcs, Tau, Space Marines, Dark Angels, and Chaos Space Marines. Good night, Major Star Stuff. So, Guard is what I got back into 40K for. And I've been doing that for a long time. And as I was doing Guard, I realized I really liked the Orcs. So, a family member got me the Start Collecting edition for Orcs. And I slowly built up Orcs over the course of like 2 years. And around that time, they released a kill team, and I wanted to get the the Sisters versus the Tau, because my wife was getting into Sisters of Battle, the Sororitas. So, and we're looking for like smaller games to get her into the game anyways, so that was pretty easy. And they had Pathfinders as part of that, so I was like, well, I already purchased the original Kill Team before the more recent editions, the old version of Kill Team. And because someone had suggested to do that. So I already had a bunch of Tau. And this would come with Pathfinders. So I was like, well, all I got to do is buy some getting started kit. And I basically piecemealed Tau over that time. So by the time I was in like year 3 of collecting, I had a proper Guard army, a proper Orc army, and a proper Tau army. And I've been piecemealing those since then. After that, I got a Start Collecting Space Marines kit, and it stayed in its box forever. And I eventually decided to put that together and build out an army over my year 4. And I finished painting it last year. So I still have some parts of it that need to be painted, but like I've got an army that I can play. And then when the Lion came out, because when I was first into 40K for like 3rd edition, I was a Dark Angels player. That is one of the few remaining metal figures that I still have. I also have a Terminator. And like a Deathwing Terminator. So I had those models left over. And so when they released the Lion, I was like, I have to start collecting the Dark Angels. I just have to start collecting Dark Angels. So I have a bunch of Dark Angels assembled. All of them are new kits. And like the new Knights and Terminators and like the new various leaders and such. And I cannibalized some of my other models from the other Space Marines and turned them into Dark Angels. They're assembled but not painted. And then the last army, that was it. And then the reason why I have a Chaos Space Marine army is because, yeah, I know. Litter. The reason I have a Chaos Space Marine army is because for a time, my brother-in-law came to live with me and my wife. He only lived here for half a year before he went back to where he was living. But as to sort of like a welcome to here and sort of like to help him feel more at ease what we're doing, we're like, because he wanted to, he was, you know, getting a job and stuff like that, but he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do while he was here. Basically, he just needed to get away from from home, and he wanted to come down and try to make it in Austin. And because he'd never really been outside of his hometown, so we walked him around the Warhammer store and said, "What do you want?" He's like, "I like the aesthetics of this." And so we got him a combat patrol for Chaos Space Marines, and he got him like 1 leader unit, which I think was an executioner. On top of that, I had purchased a combat patrol for Cam because my wife Camilla wanted a Emperor's Children army. I knew that the new Emperor's Children was going to come out like at some point at this point, so I had purchased one to give her as a surprise when the Emperor's Children was announced. But when the Emperor's Children was announced, basically all of those units weren't usable in the Emperor's Children army. So I was like, oh fuck, I've got 2. And my brother-in-law ended up not really wanting to do. He tried a little bit of it. He enjoyed it, but he wanted to do other things. So we just was like, it's okay, it's yours if you want to use it. But he didn't take it with him when he went back home. So I ended up with a couple of random units and 2 boxes of start collecting, or two boxes of combat patrols for Chaos Marines. So it's like I basically have a mini army of Chaos Marines right here. So last year, I ended up getting a few more models to flesh it out. Man, a man in love with a hobby that will make even death wait to explain it. Yeah. Is it an expensive hobby? Yes. It's a very expensive hobby. They call it plastic crack for a reason. So you declared the wah. Yes, I do. So that's a long way of explaining Guard, Orcs, Tau, Marines, Dark Angels, Chaos. My wife has Sisters, Necrons, and Emperor's Children. Just a short question, yeah. It's just a short question. All right, now I'm gonna go to bed, y'all. Thank you for hanging out. Need more armies. What I need to do is finish painting the armies I already have. I know that's a meme where it's like, oh, well, yeah, you could just wait. No. I have to finish painting. Because once I'm done, I can start buying more things that I want to. But I want to finish the stuff I have. I gotta play with the toys I already purchased before I start buying new toys. One of the things I need to do before I go, and this is something I'm legitimately considering, is to move the office hours from Thursdays to Wednesdays, or moving them to Mondays. Because my local friendly game store does Warhammer does 40K Warhammer on Thursdays, and I want to be able to play more. So, and I got to figure out what those sorts of things. So we'll see. So tell us about the history of the universe. No. Do a live stream, paint, and talk Star Citizen lore while doing it. I'd watch. I've done it in the past. You need proper technologies for it to like actually see me painting. I'm not a good painter. I'm okay, but I'm not good. Yeah, I do play with those figures. Tell me, Norn, I'd love to play TTS 40K with you. Just let me know. This is an example of the Space Marine army that I built. I have it here as like a nice little... Get this focused properly. on, focus. It's not focusing properly, but let's do it this way. This. Yeah, they're called the Varangian Ravens. They're called. You should set up the second camera in the photo booth. I got you. Which one was that? I'm blanking. I think I remember it. This is the Mini Penny Ninjas. How should I get in contract live stream? Just contact me on Twitch, on Discord. Yeah, just talk to me in Discord. But yeah, so I'll let you know about that. That's not going to be something soon though. That if that happens, it'll probably be in like December is when I start doing that. So I might move the office hours a little bit, but I also hesitant to do that because everyone's so used to office hours on Thursdays. So what I might start doing is doing office hours on Thursdays and Mondays. So people can kind of get the idea that we're doing office hours on Mondays too, and then slowly phase out to just doing it. So I can do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it's like a nice 4 block. And then I have the rest of the week off, the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday off. That would probably help me a little bit in terms of just life balance as well. All right, y'all. It's been 20 minutes since I said I was going to leave 20 minutes ago. So thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday. The Black.